Hello, Valentino Zubiri here, Valzubiri. This is going to be a long video. Yeah, I'm making an assumption that it might be the only video you're gonna watch of me. So I'm gonna try to put in as many, as many, as much detail, as many details as I can, with the assumption that it might be the only video you're gonna watch. But I don't think, I hope not, you know. Okay, so this is going to be in three parts. Uh, the water visualization technique, which I plan to do every day. The number two is how to make money from art, which is what I call Valzubiriagenda. And the number three is probably why you came here for, which is how to see invisible beings and dream vividly. Okay, it might be like opening your third eye if you can understand that. You know, there's a lot of blanket, general, you know, like widely used terms that that can be hard to define, like opening your third eye. You know, what is that? We don't even have a third eye. Okay, so it might be the pineal gland. So do your research, but I'll I'll do my best to be as scientific as I can. Now, with the water, I wouldn't call myself psychic either. You know, psychic. You know, that word psychic is once again another term that needs to be defined even, you know, more specifically. So with the water, it's more about religion, and then with number two, obviously, is how to make money. Number three is more like a scientific approach towards seeing what's supposed to be invisible to make them visible. Okay. So I do have a Bachelor of Science degree in biology, so I know what scientific is. This is not scientific. Okay. So before we go further, thanks for watching. It's okay to duplicate and share this. It's for all of us. If you can, all over the world, if you can translate this, I'm just speaking English right now, but if you can translate it to your language, that would be so good. Okay, because everyone needs to know this, especially number three, number two as well, number one, one, two, and three. Okay. Now, if you look at the upper right, there's a circular thing, right? That says an ellipse. That's right now water is the word water is highlighted. So as we move along to the different topics, it'll say VCA, Valzubiriagenda, or invisible beings, and then the last one would be ETC, which is etc. So if you need to go to another topic, just search for that marker. Okay, so right now it's on water, which is what we're gonna be tackling as soon as I get to this next screen. So with water, it'll be there'll be three parts, or three intentions. The first one would be for the sick, second would be for rejuvenation, number three would be for workouts. Now let's say you're really bad, you know, you're really sick, then that's number one, right? Now if you have hypertension or high blood pressure, that's still number one. Okay. Now for rejuvenation, I don't judge people. This is nothing about vanity. I believe that we are entitled to this, to get younger, to stay young. Okay. To feel young. Now, I would say we're gonna work on feeling young, and then if you start looking young, that's good too. Okay. Number three is for workouts. Let's say you're an athlete, or you're just going to the gym, then use number three. Especially if you're competing, you know, and this is water, you know, so it's drug free. Okay. So use number 3, number 2. You can use them in combination. Number 1 and number 2, you can use them in combination as well. Let's say you're sick and you want to feel younger or look younger or whatever, then you can use 1 and 2. Okay. Or you can use 2 and 3. If you're already healthy and you just want to look young or feel young, and you're going to the gym anyway, so you need your bottled water, right? So we'll do water visualization techniques on that, and that's what you can bring to your gym or wherever. Okay, so once again, I don't judge, right? For number 2, you want to look young. Some of us need to be young to keep ourselves young. Actors, actresses, singers, performers, dancers on stage, dancers everywhere. Let's say you're a stripper, obviously you need your youth, right? Same thing with if you're doing something even more adulty than stripping. That's okay. I don't judge people. Okay. We all need results, and that's why I'm here. You need your results. I want your results. I want to give you your results. Okay, so number 3, let's say you're competing, you're a baseball team, you're good. Do number 3, number 2 and 3. You stay young and be as energetic as you can, and do the water visualization. It's drug free. Okay, so that's how we're gonna do this. Now, this may be the first time that you've encountered this. You can watch, or you can get a glass of water. You can also go back to the beginning of the video and then give yourself time to get a glass of water and then do this visualization technique. Okay, now, so basically humor me, get a glass of water. Okay, especially if you need it, if you're sick. Okay, now I'm gonna do this as daily as I can and as regularly as I can. I know the world is 24 hours, so I just have enough time to sleep, and then if I want to help all different time zones, then I probably should be around 3 times a day. Okay, the only way you can be able to participate is to subscribe and to ring the bell, and so you'll see me getting online like maybe 3 times a day, or maybe even 4 times a day, with 2 days off for the week. If you feel like you only need this once a day, then as you get notified on your cell phone, there's no need for you to see me or watch me or participate. So you can just do this once a day, but you'll probably see me go online between 3 and 4 times if I'm supposed to be doing it right. Okay, having warned you about that, so now we're gonna do the water, and I just want to go through this with you. If you're sick, you're already supposed to be seeing a physician. See a physician if you haven't seen one and you're sick. You also continue to take your prescriptions and whatever treatment you're doing, especially if you're doing chemotherapy or radiation therapy. You need to keep doing that. Okay. Now you need to continue to be cautious. Let's say you hurt your back because you were carrying something heavy. Just because your back got better doesn't mean you should go back to carrying something heavy. Okay, you need to continue to be cautious. Okay, now this is unproven faith healing, unproven psychic healing, unproven Eastern healing, unproven non-Western healing, unproven French healing, unproven ethnic healing. This is not scientific. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in biology, and I know for a fact that this water thing is more about faith. Okay, now so this is not scientific, and same thing with well, I would say seeing invisible beings would be a little more scientific than this one. Okay, so as far as the water is concerned, it's about religion by faith. Okay, And it's not about your faith, it's about my faith. Okay. Uh, Now, you're doing this willingly. It's a matter of attitude and what your mindset is. If somebody tells you to do this, so and your heart's not into it, I don't think it'll work as much. Okay, so make sure that you're willing to do this and that you're expecting good results. Okay, so you're doing this willingly. Now there are no refunds. Patreon, if you there's an option. The main option for Patreon is a monthly donation. Um, so whatever you've donated, consider it spent. And then if you want to discontinue payment, then just let Patreon know. There's an option to do that, and uh, you're good to go. Okay, so number 13, your condition can return. Okay, so there's no guarantee that your condition won't return. Your condition might return in time. This is why you need to keep doing visualization exercises as a supplement to Western treatments. Okay, so there may be no results, but what I tell people is that if they don't experience any results, then keep coming back and keep expecting good results, and hopefully it manifests. Okay, now, okay, the last one. If you're working in a hospital, even if you're a janitor, do not recommend this to your patients. Why? Because you can get in trouble later. Okay, so anticipate that. Don't recommend this. Let the patients discover this for themselves. They'll talk amongst themselves anyway. Let their relatives, friends, and loved ones make the recommendation for them to do this. So don't if you're working in a hospital or nursing home or healthcare facility or whatever else, make sure you do not recommend this, especially to your patients, because it might get you in trouble, and jobs are important. Okay, so now let's do the first one, the water. So after you've done, if you're sick, after you've done this, you can go back to bed, you can go offline. Okay. If you're sick and you feel like you need to get better and better and better, like as soon as possible, then just go back to the beginning of this video and then redo at this point in the video, go back to here and then redo the water visualization, take a few sips and then redo it again. So you can just keep redoing. Like making smart, how do you say that? You can just keep sipping your water. Okay? If you have a glass of water, then sip a little and then redo the thing, sip a little again, redo the thing. Okay. Okay, so let's start. Right now, I need you to imagine what is your threshold of pain, that you have right now. On a scale of 1 to 10, give a number to your pain right now. Sometimes you might say on a scale of 1 to 10 it's a 12. Sometimes you might say on a scale of 1 to 10 it's a 20, but right now it's a 14. It still hurts, right? So write that number down, and then we'll hopefully make that number go lower. Okay, so get a pen and paper. You can pause this video again and write down your number. Okay, so at this point I will assume that you already have written down your number. Okay, so this one is for the sick, and then after which you can go offline and go back to bed. Okay, so now I need you to vocalize and say loud enough so that your ears can hear you and it goes to your brain, right? Say, yes, I want to heal, or yes, I definitely want to heal, or I want to heal from whatever condition that you're in. Say that right now. Okay, Now make sure your ears heard you say that. Don't just think it, and then from the ears it goes back to the brain, right? Okay. So now I'm gonna pray. I'll disappear for a while. I need you to relax. Expect to be astonished. Expect to get better. I don't need you to pray with me, because if you're religious, then you should be praying already, before or after. Not right now, because this is my moment. Okay. Now I know this is a recording. You know this is a recording. It still works. Okay. So let me pray right now, and I will disappear for a while. Okay. Okay. I'm done praying. Now I'm going to ask you to pretend like your sickness is dust on your skin. Okay, so you're gonna dust away your sickness. Okay, so do this. Dust it off your arms, off of your hand, off of your shoulders, the rest of your body, wherever you can reach your body. Dust it off. Okay. All the way to your feet, if you can reach your feet. You can ask somebody else to help you with this. Okay, if you're with your loved one right now, you can ask them to dust it off you. Okay. Now, if you're wearing glasses, remove your glasses. Dust it off your face. Dust off your sickness, off of your ears, off of your head, off of your neck, the back of your neck. Okay. And now, put your glasses back on. Okay, now you can drink or have a sip of your water. You don't need to finish it, just have a sip. Okay. Okay, put the water down. Now ask yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much is your pain right now? If it's still the same, then give it a rest. Wake up the next day, tomorrow, and see how your number's gone, if it's gone down. Okay. Now, if you feel like you should do this again, then take a break and then rewind it to where we started I started telling you about all this, and then have a sip of the water again. Okay. So right now, you can actually pause this video and then go back to the beginning. Okay. And do the water thing again. Take a sip of your water and then assess yourself again. Okay. So now we're gonna move to number 2. Okay. So now we're gonna do rejuvenation. Okay. So we're gonna do the same thing. When I say I'm gonna pray, don't pray with me, just relax and expect good results. Okay. Now, once again, you need to vocalize. Would you like to rejuvenate? Would you like to look younger? Would you like to be younger? Now, with this, I will encourage you, if you're older than 23, okay, visualize yourself when you were 23. If you're 23, then visualize yourself when you were 15. Okay. So, let's say you're much older right now, right? Start visualizing yourself when you were age 23. Okay. Now, do that right now. Okay. So now you just keep visualizing that. I'm going to start praying, and I don't need you to pray with me. Once again, I just need you to expect good results. Okay. So let me disappear right now, and make sure that your water is safe. Okay. Don't get it to spill on your laptop. Okay, I'm coming back. Okay, now imagine your age. All these factors that are making you age. Imagine them like dust that need to be dusted off your body. Okay, so do this again. You're making yourself younger by getting rid of things that are making you old. You know, certain chemicals in your body are making you old. Now you're dusting it away. Okay, now you remove your glasses again. Dust it off your ears. Put your glasses back on. And now I will ask you to drink your water. Have a sip if you're saving it for later. Have a small sip. Okay. Okay, so now we're done with that. So we're gonna do the workouts. Okay. Once again, if you feel like you should do this again over and over and over, just go back to the earlier part of this video and then redo it. Okay. So now once again, this is a recording. You would be better off. I would encourage you to um, go online. You know, if you see me online, then go online and visualize the water. Now, once again, I'm doing this hopefully 3 times a day, and once again, you can always return to a recording. Okay, I call this a relic. You know what relics are? You know, religious people, they leave things behind, and it becomes a relic. So now I'm leaving this behind every time it's, you know, like if I do the recording, like if it's live, a live stream, then it becomes a recording. It becomes a relic. But the efficacy remains the same. Okay, so expect good results. Now for workouts, you could do the rejuvenation first and then workouts using the same bottle. Okay, so we'll energize it some more. So now uh, I'm not gonna ask you, do you want to use this for your workout? Okay, we're gonna I'm gonna disappear right now, and then I'm gonna pray for you to get, you know, good results with your water. I expect you to just relax and expect good results. Do not pray with me. Okay, just relax. So my face is gonna disappear, and then I'll come back when I'm done praying. Okay, I'm coming back. Okay, now have a sip of your water, and some of them you'll be bringing to the gym, right? Or wherever you're going. So have a sip of your water and take care of your water. Bring it to the gym, bring it to your concert if you're supposed to have a concert or something, or you're supposed to have competition somewhere. Now, once again, this is drug free, so I encourage you to do this. Now, I you might be a singer, for example. You might have a troupe of performers. You might be um, dancers or strippers or whatever, or sports people. You all need your good looks, you all need your energy, you all need your youth. Do this all the time, as much as you can. Save your water for later. Now, whenever you save your water, make sure that you use a glass of water. You pour your water on the glass into your glass. That way, your water keeps stays clean. Okay, don't swig and then expect that because it's miraculous that it's not gonna have any germs. No. Okay. Use use another container. Pour the water into the other container, and that's where you drink it from. Okay. Okay. So having said that, um, let's move on to. Well, let's do it again. Okay, let me disappear again. I will pray on your water again. Being that you're going to the gym anyway, and you still have your water with you, so let's energize it some more. Okay, so let me pray on the same water again. Okay, that way you'll be stronger. Okay. Okay, I'm coming back. Okay, so now you can bring that water with you. Okay. And if you pass by where I'm at, like if you wanna give me a concert ticket, that's good. If you wanna give me a ball game ticket, that's good too. Okay, so and then I'll head over to your to wherever you're at, like your backstage, and then we'll visualize water right there. I don't mind. That's good. Okie dokes. So let me explain to you what went on. Okay. Okay. There's what's called the gifts of the Spirit. Okay. And then there's also the spiritual gifts of the Spirit. There are two different groups of attributes. Okay. Now this is in the Bible. So if you're not Christian or if you don't read the Bible, that's okay. I just wanna show you where I'm coming from. Okay. So there's gifts of the Spirit and then the spiritual gifts of the Spirit. Okay. So with the gifts of the Spirit, there's wisdom, understanding, counsel, fortitude, knowledge, piety, fear of the Lord. Now from this point on, if I'm doing this, like I'm gonna go fast, and then you can freeze frame, and take notes or whatever if you have any questions, or you can always go back to this part. Okay, so uh, these wisdom, understanding, counsel, fortitude, knowledge, piety, fear of the Lord, they're more for like daily life for regular people. Okay. Now there's what's called the spiritual gifts of the Spirit, which is a little more profound. Okay. Now it's spiritual gifts of the Spirit. They're mentioned in the Bible a few times with different versions. Okay, so I'm just gonna show you one version, and you can Google this or go on Wikipedia, and you'll see reference to this. Okay, so the spiritual gifts of the Spirit is the word of wisdom, word of knowledge, increased faith. Okay, now here, the gift of healing, the gift of miracles, prophecy, the discernment of spirits, the diverse kinds of tongues, the gift of tongues, the interpretation of tongues. Okay. Now, if you want more explanation about that, then go research it yourself. Okay. But as far as I'm concerned, way back I prayed for the gift of healing, and um, it's something that I've been involved with even like 35 years ago. or close to 35 years ago. Uh, Let me show you the next screen. Okay. Now, basically, if you pray and ask for the gift of healing, you might, you'll eventually get increased faith, word of knowledge, word of wisdom, a gift of miracles, obviously, like as far as healing is concerned, then, the miracles will be healing. Now, gifts of prophecy, spirits, all that, all the rest. So there's no demarcation, but I specifically wanted to have the gift of healing. Okay, and then the rest follow. Okay, so I guess I need to tell you in a really fast way. Uh, my struggle has started when I was 6 years old. Okay, and okay, so when I was 6 years old, I hate to say this, but I have to. I was molested. So that's what the Dalma and the Musical mentioned that in a big way. Wonder, my memoir Wonder, and my memoir Dalma and the Musical. They mentioned that. Okay. Now, by 1981, I graduated from from high school, and I was supposed to take a pre-med course. Okay, so it's slowly relating to healing, right? Now, by by the fourth year, all the way to the fifth year, I wanted to be a writer. I didn't want to be a doctor anymore. So my last hurrah was a term paper, and I encountered a psychic surgeon for my term paper. Um, okay, there's that trance. You see that word trance. So by 1986, I did my term paper in English. I finished it. It was about psychic surgery and psychic healing, right? In the Philippines, there's a lot of psychic surgeons, and supposedly there's one in Russia, and I think that's John of God. Way back in the 1980s, he was already well known, I guess, was that in Brazil, yeah, John of God. But there's only one of him in Brazil. In the Philippines, there were, according to the research that I did, more than 150 who can actually do psychic surgery. Okay, now my book Hocus Pocus Lately talks about that, and it defines, psychic surgery and psychic healing, faith healing, uh, fake healing also. So I defined these terms. Now, way back when I was still there, like after I was done with my interviews and my research and whatever, only took 2 months of being with the psychic surgeon, but I spent 2 more months with with them, because they become familiar to me. They had the service every Sunday from 2 p.m. all the way to 9 p.m. or even 10 p.m. All depended on how many people were coming and waiting to be treated, right? Okay, so one day on their anniversary, and I did talk about this in Hocus Pocus Lately. There's a lady who went into a trance, and she, long story short, she faced me and said I was, whatever I was gonna do in the future, it'll be a really long time. 30 years later, I'm doing this, right? And she said, whatever it is that you decide on doing, many, many, many years from that time, it was gonna be the right thing to do. Okay. And then she got out of her trance. Okay, so now, as you can see, Felix Mago Miguel, he's my brother-in-law. Now he's also an artist. Okay, and then I just to show you how many how many years and what have I've gone through all these years, right? So I'm going to be mentioning some artists that I've encountered, that I care about, that I do want to mention here, because I want them to become collectible. So there's Felix, and then after that, I had publishing experience and theater experience around 1993. Then Paul Samuelson is deceased, but he influenced me a lot with my art. He's an artist too, and he's got work circulating who knows where. But I encountered him in 1995. Okay, now TV, radio, and print and publishing. I got on TV, I got on the radio, I got on print for doing what I call the AIDS awareness origami crane, paper crane, that bird. So that was in 1996, and I also got into the publishing. I started I started attending publishing conventions in 1996. Every year I would go to the conventions. Okay, so my idea about the Valzubiriagenda came about in 1998. As you can see, 1998, 2008, 2018, 20 years ago. Okay, and it occurred to me that I should be writing my memoir from the perspective of an artist in 1998. Okay, now I started doing massage in 98, and that's what the 1 Hour Mentors is about. It's a memoir of an artist as a masseur. Okay, 1 Hour Mentors. So I met all these celebrities, singers, actors, CEOs, chairman of the board, ordinary people, gallery people, artists, and for the hour of massage that I gave them, they gave me tips on how to survive and keep the dream and keep my ambition alive. So that started in 1998. Okay, and I did massage in 1998 all the way to 2006. Okay, so 9/11/2001. That's when I saw shadow beings, and that's what I'm going to be talking about on how to see invisible beings. It happened in 9/11 on 9/11/2001. Strangely enough. Okay, now my first draft of my book started in 2005, or my first attempt to write a book started in 2005 to 2006, after which I had the draft with 120,000 words. Okay. Now, memoirs I would suggest should be 55,000 words. So I overwrote, but that was my first attempt. Okay. Now I met Samuel Bonilla, another artist, around 2009, I guess, and I also now Sam Bonilla is located in Madison, Wisconsin. So I hope he gets. I hope you look for his work. Okay, get his work right now before more and more people get there. Okay, now Thomas S. Nelson, I met in 2009. He's passed on, but his son, who's also named Thomas, I think, has his works, I'm sure. So now Tom Nelson will be he lived in Kansas City, so I'm assuming that his son is still there. If he's not there, he probably went back to Arizona, maybe. Okay, but Tom is somebody I owe my art as well, and I hope he becomes collectible, posthumously. Okay, now there's I wrote Damian the Musical in 2012, so that's my second draft actually. Having written something earlier, now I had more confidence with writing. I met Stephen Lowell Swanberg, who's also an artist in Chicago, in 2012, and I care about his work. Now I met Popo San Pascual, not necessarily in 2012. I met him like way back in 1984 or 85, something like that, or 84. and I remember him from '84, but I finally got in touch with him in 2012 again. Okay, so I highly respect his work. Okay. Now, my dad, in 2013, he had cancer and then he passed away on the eve of Thanksgiving, 2013. And I wrote about him as well in Hocus Pocus Lately, which is my paranormal memoir. And that's also when I saw Being of Light. Okay, so in 2001 I saw Shadow Beings, and then 2013 I saw Being of Light. Okay, now I finished the three books. I started writing when my dad was sick, okay, so that I can keep track of, like my feelings and all that. And I finally released, well, I simultaneously wrote three books, and so by 2014 I finished all three. Okay, that would be Hocus Pocus Lately, Wonder, and 1 Hour Mentors. So you'll notice that the style of the book cover is the same. I didn't want to change it, and I'll change it later when I get to write a few more memoirs. Okay, so now I have four, right, including Dama and the Musical. Uh, Now the draft that I wrote way back in 2006, I stopped. Uh, I put on I put on hold, and then I reshuffled the chapters, and then added some more writing for the three books in 2014. Okay, now I made three books for Richard Lau, also in 2014. Okay, and so I photographed Richard's works and then produced three books. They're available on Amazon right now. That's 2014. No, 2015, I had a radio interview with Richard Surratt, who hosts the Conspiracy Show. It's based in Toronto, and once again I had been waiting for Valzubiriagenda, the book, to be finished before I really start promoting myself. So I really just wanted to do Richard Surratt's show in 2015 because just to get the hang of it, just for the experience of once again being interviewed. Because that happened to me in 2006. Oh no, in 1996. So many years later, in 2015, I got on the radio again. Okay, now head injury and others. In 2016, what happened to me in 2016? Oh, head injury. There's a friend of mine who's just started to lose his balance and wasn't able for more than a year. He wasn't able to get himself better, and he's a rich guy. He he was going to he was going to doctors, and they couldn't figure out what's wrong with him. And so I came to visit him. Eventually, finally, when he finally called me, and that night when I laid my hands on him, and many times over, this and uh, he was able to start holding a pen and write his full name. He said he wasn't able to do that for more than 6 months. So that's a good improvement. And then the following on the Sunday of that weekend, because I stayed overnight for 2 nights, and then finally on Sunday, he actually drove me, did a 2 hour drive to my place to just drop me off. And he wasn't able to do that before, for for more than a year. I guess for more than a year, but for more than 6 months, I'm sure. Okay, the others I'm talking about here, I've I've healed people, not just you right now. I've done this many times, and by 2016, I was like doing it, well, not as much as I want. Okay, because I can't be going up to people whom I don't know, to say, hey, you want me to try to make you better, so I do want to do that. I wanted to do that. I just wasn't I just didn't think it was appropriate, you know. So this head injury, this guy, he's a friend of mine. I've known him before, and then he suddenly had this problem, and he finally called me more than a year later, something like that. Okay, so now Jerry and James Miller's book. Okay, Jerry and James. Jerry, I helped him with the book, either in 2014 or 2015. Okay, so he knew he can write another book, right? So he collaborated with his brother James. So by 2017, I was able to help them with their book, collaborated book. It's about their it's about child abuse again, and alcoholism. Uh, it's available. This book, Richard Lau's books, they're available on Amazon, and same thing with Jerry and James. Their books are available on Amazon. Okay. Uh, what I want to tell you right now is that um, reading and designing the book for Jerry and James. Now Jerry is a friend of mine. James is out of state. Okay, but they're twins, and this was around the time of the Me Too movement when it started to happen. And this is why I mentioned when I was 6 years old I was molested. Only in 2017 did I realize that I was 6 years old when that happened. I avoided even calculating my age. Okay, and in 2017, that's the first time I had memorable panic attacks. And I was kind of like, oh my God, this is what panic attacks feel. Um, because I was reading their memoir, or their book, memoirs, and it just made me feel like it just impacted me so much that I just out of the blue, when I started reading an article about somebody who's much younger than me, talking about when he was I guess 11 years old, 14 years old. uh, I was reading this article and I just started having panic attacks. And it happened to me like at least a few times within the week, and then it's over. And then but I kind of feel sorry, because I was 52 years old in 2017, and I was 6 years old when it happened. So basically, my panic attacks happened to me after 46 years. So I really sympathize and empathize with people who, who's the gap, those people who have a shorter gap of time. I really feel bad, because what happened to me still affects me right now, you know. So just want to let you know that, and so all this is tied in together. Okay, the Valzubiriagenda book with Silverio Perez I finished in 2018 with Silverio, who's also an artist. Now James is an artist. He's 70 plus years old, or both of them, Jerry and James. So look for James in, I think, Colorado or Arizona. I'm not sure. Um, uh, Silverio is based elsewhere. He comes to Chicago every once in a while. He comes to visit me. So I have plans to collaborate with Silverio on books and uh, what we will call our art, collaborative art. Okay, so now I'm finishing Andrea Kasprick's book. So this is 2018 now. It's been 6 months and we've been going back and forth on her book. So Andrea is also an artist, and I am right now editing Richard Lau's memoir. So Richard had three books way back in 2014, and they're picture books of all of his artwork. 273 works, I guess, in three books. Okay, so this time Richard's written a memoir. It's written through. Okay, more than 55,000 words. So I'm working with him right now on his memoir. It's already written. It just needs for a little more editing and the book design. Okay, so you can. I'm sorry for this being a long thing, but I just had to tell you all this. I might not be here. I'm making this appear like I might not be here again. So I'm just letting you know all this, and I'm mentioning all these people so they can be collectible. Hopefully, please collect them, and mine too. Okay. So now this miraculous water thing that I'm doing, you'll get a hint, or you'll learn. You'll get an insight of this in Hocus Pocus lately. Um, it's my paranormal memoir, and it actually is, I would say, the only book right now available in the market. If you want to learn how a psychic surgeon, a genuine psychic surgeon, gets to become a genuine psychic surgeon, and he told me he taught me lessons that you can learn as well. Just read the Hocus Pocus lately. Everything I learned from the psychic surgeon 30 years ago, 30 plus years ago, they're all there in Hocus Pocus lately. So I encourage you, if you wanna, also if you feel like you wanna know more, if you feel better now and you wanna know more, then get Hocus Pocus lately and read it. Okay. So once again, please subscribe and also click the bell icon. I am live streaming 1 to 3 times daily, between 5 to 7 days a week. Especially if you're sick or you need to improve, then make sure that you interact with me on the live stream. Okay, and we'll do the water treatment, water visualization technique as much as we can so you can get better. Okay. Now, same thing if you're doing the number 2 and number 3. If you just want to be youthful and you also want to just go to the gym and do your sports, then make sure that you see me live streaming, and then we'll interact. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer that. Okay. So poor people. Okay. You might wonder why it works, or you might wonder, why I'm encouraging you to do this. Okay. I come from the Philippines. It's where poor people are, and a lot of homeless people. Basically, poor people cannot afford doctors on a regular basis. They can't afford medication sometimes. Sometimes they can't afford uh, transportation. Okay. So that's why it works in the Philippines, because a lot of poor people go to the psychic healers and faith healers and psychic surgeons for treatment. Okay. Now, I'm just saying right now that a lot of countries are getting poorer as well, and more people are going poor, and even in the developed countries, they're poor. They can't afford, regular medication. This is why I have this high suspicion that psychic healing and faith healing would be more would get to be used more and more, because people are going poor. So if you're not sick, you want to maintain your health, then do the water visualization techniques together with whatever it is that you're doing to keep yourself healthy. That's what I'm saying. So um, you can be in a rich country. You just need to maintain your health. You can be rich as well. You need to maintain your health. Everyone needs to do that. Everyone needs to maintain their youth and vitality and energy. Then do the water healing techniques again with me, and every once in a while. Okay. Now I'm in Chicago right now. Okay. Now let's say you're sick and you're elsewhere. I cannot. I would rather encourage you um, to get to attend or to watch the live stream. Okay, why? Because you're going to need to do this on a daily basis, and I cannot move myself out of where I'm at just to be with you over the next week or maybe even month, or you're better off. It would be more practical for you to catch me doing this on YouTube, live streaming. Okay, so make sure that you subscribe and do this with me. I'll do my best to do this 3 times a day, so you can watch me and participate with me at least once for the day, and then come back the next day, and the next, and the next, and the next, until you get better. Okay, so let me go to the next screen. Donate what you think is fair. Put a price on what you got. And if you're poor and homeless and whatever, and you that's definitely the time when you need to maintain your health, you're free. Don't There's no need to send me anything. Okay, that's if you're poor. If you're well off, or if you have any budgets that you can spare for me, then I would encourage you to do that. Why? Because if you take this for granted, then um, the attitude, it's back to the attitude. I can't say it's back to your lack of faith or whatever. Because it's my faith that works on as far as this is concerned. Okay, so I am encouraging you uh, to send me what you think is worth. Okay, uh, as long as it's within your budget. Once again, on Patreon you can choose between $1 all the way to $14,000, and that's for different reasons. Okay? Uh, so I don't want to put a price on it. And if you want to be generous, you know that whatever you're going to be sending me, it's going to go to the what I call the Valzubiriagenda. To be able to help other artists and other people, produce their own books and um, produce their art, and hopefully become more marketable for other people to invest in. So that's what's gonna happen. Your money is gonna go to me being able to rent a big warehouse and buying some computers and software for book design and book editing and all that. Yeah. Okay, so on PayPal, you can go to paypal.com, and there's an option for you to send money, and then it'll ask you what email address you're going to be sending the money to, and so put in valzubiri@gmail.com. So that's VALZUBIRI@gmail.com, and I'll get the money. Thank you in advance. Okay, so uh, thank you so much. I guess this is the end of the water visualization exercises, and now we're going to the next topic, which is Valzubiriagenda. Now, Valzubiriagenda is about making money from art. It's for everyone all over the world. And if you go to Amazon.com, you'll be able to read the entire introduction, which is about more than 20 pages, I guess. I can't remember right now, but it tells you my motivation and what happened to myself in Silverio, and Um, so that's Valzubiriagenda. It's available also on Amazon.com. Okay. And okay, so now I'm gonna try to be fast with this so we can get to the next topic. Okay. So art is unregulated, it's global and portable. So you can produce art right here, right where you're at, and then you can mail it to somebody else who bought your art uh, in other parts of your country or in the other parts of the world. Okay, so that's a good thing about art. Now, what I tell in the book is we should not have to go to hell to sell art. Okay, so here's a way to make money for your business using art. So you don't have to be an artist, you don't have to be a gallery, but you can be your own gallery later. You know, if you do what I call the Valzubir agenda. Okay. Now, when I say we don't have to go to hell to sell art. Some people use envy and greed and jealousy and whatever, and they lie to people. You know, just for people with money to be able to fork out their money. But there's really no guarantee of collectability for a lot of artists. So I came up with the idea of uh, a few pointers to make yourself a little more collectible. And so I want to show you the pointers. So there's actually 9 points. Okay. So the first four is publish books, publish art books, announce your scarcity, announce prices. What this is you publish your memoirs, autobiography, biographies. You can use another writer to collaborate with you. Uh, Publish books about yourself. You know, publish your poetry, your manifestos, your thoughts, your essays, your articles. As long as it's about you, it's from you, and it's about your art and your life. You know, that would be good. Now, with your art books, publish your art books too. Take pictures of your work, get somebody else to do it, and then make sure that books are published, because books last 300 to 3,000 years. See, so it's better than an invitation to an art show. It's better than anything. You know, books are like they're like business cards. Okay, if you have a book, you can talk about your book, right? So you can become a speaker. So the good speakers or the better speakers usually have a book, okay, if not more. Okay, now you announce scarcity. You can say, hey, you know what? For the rest of my life, I'm only gonna make 3,000 works, and no more than that. So that gives collectors the opportunity, and investors and everyone else the opportunity to resell your art for a much higher price. See? Now, as you schedule your scarcity, like let's say 3,000 works, right? Let's say 300 works. For every 300 works, you announce a price, a scheduled price, so they can see, or people can speculate that your prices are gonna go up in value. Yeah. So make an announcement. You know. So schedule your prices and announce the entire price schedule. You know, based on your scarcity, and then support that with the publication of books, your art books. So your collectors and investors, they'll know for sure that your art is genuine, and that whatever they have will be in books. See, so you start the ball rolling, and then even these collectors and investors, they can produce their own books and include your works too. See? So even if let's say let's say Richard, I told you Richard Blau has 3 books of his art, right? So 5 years from now, uh, collectors can produce their books, and so without Richard even helping them out, they can include Richard's works. See? So it's gonna increase in, through time, from 3 books to even more than that. Okay, something like that. Okay, now next 4 would be number 5. Use hashtag Valzubiriagenda online. So if you, for example, make a decision now that you want to do this, then just use the hashtag. And eventually people are looking for the hashtag, and maybe your location, your city, or your country, they'll find you and they'll work with you. Okay. So now these investors, if you're an investor, you invest in somebody's art, you want the demand to go up because the higher prices will be reached, right? And the sooner they reach, then the sooner you can resell your art or claim that your art's gotten much higher in price. See, so find ways to snowball the demand. That's number 6. Now number 7, ask the artist if there's a big demand and the production of the art is low, then you can trade the contracts, and whoever owns the contract at the time of delivery, when the art gets finished, then that's the person the art or company the art gets delivered to. So number 8 is give commissions. Like, I don't know a lot of people, so if you know some people that I can sell my art to, then we can work together. Get in touch with me, for example, and I'll give you a commission as sales are made. So that's number 8. Now here's the 9th. Okay, collaborate and barter. Okay, let's say you're a cafe. Now you're already selling art, but the art tends to only last for 2 months, and then you give the art back to the artist, right? So why don't you call for writers, ghostwriters, editors, book designers, offices, investors, art collectors, proofreaders, photographers, organize them in your place of business together with your artists, or call for artists as well. See, and then everyone collaborates. Now, because of your effort, you can require the artist to give you some art pieces. Everyone gets to do that. The writers can start becoming collectors. Same thing with editors, ghostwriters, book designers, everyone. You can trade your talent for more permanent art from these people that you're collaborating with. Okay, why is all this possible? It's because self-publishing right now is accepted. It's gotten to a more orderly thing. Okay, it's called self-publishing is also coupled with what's called print on demand. If there's one customer somewhere in another country, for example, orders a book, then the online store, like for example Amazon or Lulu.com, and other self-publishing companies, they'll print only one book and send that book to whoever ordered it. See, so there's it's not like before. Way back in the 70s, for example, only the big publishing houses would get into publishing. They'll order like 5,000 copies of a title excuse me, and they'll distribute all over the world or wherever the 5,000 copies. So now there's print on demand. Only the copies are printed only when they're needed, when they're ordered. Okay, so you can publish books, written through books, and you can also publish art books, colored or black and white. Okay, or you can combine them. You can collaborate with your artists, for example, and have like 10 artists in a book or 50 artists in a book. All depends on what you want. Okay, or artists themselves. If you're an artist and you know 9 other artists or 5 other artists, then come up with your book. Okay, so now so I'm promoting this. I'm usually using the cafes as an example, but anyone can do this. Okay, even if you're a department store. or even if you're an airline, airlines have their own catalogs. So this just needs to be accepted so that even the catalogs of airlines and department stores can have their own art that they're promoting. The banks, especially the banks and financial institutions, I'm encouraging you to get into art because you already have your database of contacts of people with money. You just need to convince one or two to give you, $200 million, and then everything, and then you can still at the same time run your company. See, so that's what the Valzubiriagenda is about. Um, you're no longer saying, "Hey, this art is going to be collectible." You actually have proof, by way of the books and the scheduling of prices and scarcity. You can tell them, "Hey, this is what's already been published," and there's proof right there. It isn't like you saying, "Hey, you know what? I'll send you an invitation to an opening of a gallery, so you can collect the books, or so you can collect the art." So it's not like that. It's just bigger. The books are here already. Okay. So um, back to bookstores. What does that mean? Here's the funny part. Okay. If we end up in as many cafes as possible, or as many restaurants, or as many businesses, like mom and pop operations, like for example in one city, right? Like let's say an artist is based in Chicago, for example. Then guess what happens next? The bookstores once again will uh, hopefully start featuring books by the local artists and memoirists and collectors, and they wanna they want these people. It's like the cafes started the trend, and eventually the bookstores will once again feature feature these authors. See, so it's like it's gonna make full circle, and I'm predicting that local artists will be featured. There's gonna be a good shelf space and the local bookstores, for all these local artists and investors and collectors, and even the cafes who have produced the books, and they're available online. They're going to be available in the stores. So hopefully that happens. Okay. Because once again, the bookstores can once again also offer the art, which means they'll make more money, which means they'll be able to continue keeping their bookstores open. Okay. So that's the goal of all this. Okay. Um, Okay, so to all individuals and businesses, get into art, save your business, or add value to your business. Look for your artists to gang up on. Okay, now let me show you once again. Then I told you art is not regulated, so your prices can keep doubling from the latest. So you can have an exponential type of price increase. Uh, I would think a few artists would be able to do this. Okay, and I want it to happen to me. So okay, so as you can see, in 10 steps, 100,000 can go as high as 51,200,000. Um, Now, if this entire schedule is shown to an investor or art collector, that's different from speculating, because there's a schedule already. So, well, speculating, like on a what we might think would be normal right now, right? So, if all the prices are shown, then there's a better chance of making a sale. Okay, so the highest prices don't necessarily have to be, they're not guaranteed, but at least they're there. Okay, it's better than not being there. Okay, now what I'm saying for myself, I'd like to make an announcement that I would make at the most and no more than that 3,333 works. Okay, which means if I follow this schedule, the last 300 pieces and the last 33 pieces would be 102,400,000, and then 204,800,000. Okay, you might say that's impossible. I would say as long as it's there, then at least there's something we can look at, as opposed to not being there and then everyone's blindly making uh, estimates that might not be reached. Okay, so because the pricing actually comes from the artist, then the artist can dictate this. See? Or the artist can actually even jump, from one price to the highest price, if they want, So that's the official street price, and that's what everyone gets to follow. Okay, so going back to the banks and businesses, Okay, you can find ways to be creative with this thing. Okay, you can think creatively. Okay, so financial statements, you can say, what, you have a potential. There's a potential value now, and that's thanks to all these numbers. Okay, now I call it folding money. When a layperson says I have $2 in my pocket, that's all he has, right? But when you, as a financial institution, when you have $2 in your pocket, you can say, hey, I have $2 million in my pocket, right? That's the way. That's how you fold money. That's what I call it, folding money. So you can also let the art stay in your company, so you can always talk about the potential revenue and not the actual revenue. See? And that's how you can probably borrow money from the banks or from somewhere. And that's how you can also talk to people, so you can resell your art. Okay, now reselling to grandma, what does that mean? Uh, let's say you have a rich grandma. You can buy art for $1 and then resell to your grandma for $1 million. That's what I'm saying. And that will be, the $1 million would be the official asking, would be the official price of that art piece. Okay, so that's legal in the art field. Okay, now there's many other ways to explain reselling to grandma. For example, like let's say the artist is charging $800,000 for the art pieces that he's selling at the moment, and let's say you were able to convince somebody else to get the art piece from you for $1,600,000, then that becomes the street value with the $1,600,000, which everyone can use as the potential street value. Okay, so that's reselling to grandma. And okay, the reason I'm saying I'd like for my works to reach $204 million per piece is because I'm just following John C. Maxwell's law of the lid. It's the first law of 21 immutable laws of leadership from his book. That's law number 1, the law of the lid. What it means is if you're the leader of your group and you say you're the one who sets the limit, so nothing gets past the lid of the jar, see, and you're the lid of the jar. So this being my idea, and me using or me asking everyone to use the hashtag Valzubiriagenda, then I feel responsible. So basically, if I say, hey, you know what, I'm only trying to reach $400,000, then that's the lid, So what I'm saying is I've upped the lid to $204 million, whether it gets reached or not tomorrow or 10 years from now. At least the values are there. So that's what I'm saying. So I don't expect myself to be able to reach $204 million overnight. But because I have books, and I already have 4 books that I call memoirs, and a 5th book, which is Valzubiriagenda, which is kind of sort of like a memoir as well. It Can you hear that? If it, it's good if it gets reached, but that is my goal. See, and I am the law. I am the lid. So I set the lid, and I set it high, so everyone else can follow. See. Okay, so it's either tomorrow or 1,000 years from now. I still have to show the lid. See, so that's the lid I've set. 204,800,000. We uh, we don't know what's gonna happen in the future, but at least the values are here. So you can see them, and that's the Valzubiriagenda. Okay, so banks will assist once it starts getting implemented, and more and more people are doing exchanges. Like between cities and countries. Uh, the banks will assist. Okay, so now I have to remind you, we have a bandwagon Me Too mentality. Okay, now if you go on YouTube, I just saw these videos about the Chinese bikes. Basically, if one Chinese businessman or Chinese company succeeds, and they came out with bike rentals, right? This idea of just leaving the bikes anywhere you want, and then just picking up a bike so you can bike somewhere, but it gets activated with your credit card and all that. It became a good business model until other Chinese businesses started doing the same thing, because they can't let go. They can't let somebody else get rich. They can't let somebody else have like full control of an idea. They too have to have it, hoping that they can at least make some money the same way that another person is doing. So if you go online, go to YouTube, look for Chinese bikes, you'll see like swarms of like bikes that are unused in different colors, different color codes, obviously owned by different companies, and they're pretty much abandoned. Okay, so what am I saying? We have, including the rich people and companies, we have a bandwagon mentality. We have a Me Too behavior, and I'm I'm aware of that. I've been reading books many years, right? So I do believe that eventually, once somebody gets a hold of, for example, myself, and a big bank gets to say, hey, you know what, we're reserving 150 to 3,000, or well, not 3,000, maybe 150 to 300, or even more, 1,500 art pieces from Val. Everyone else is gonna want to do the same thing, because these big banks, for example, the big financial companies that are able to afford this, like so much, they also have enough money, or a budget, big enough budget, to make that person as marketable an artist as possible, which means that uh, other people would want to join in and invest in the same artist, thereby producing the snowball effect. For that example, and then everyone else is going to be trading the contracts. See, so that's what I think. I do believe in my. Well, obviously, I've shown you my timeline. I've had this idea for many years, and I've never, ever deviated from it. I've actually added in more and more memoirs, and my art books are going to be out with all my artworks as soon as a substantial amount gets produced. So books, more and more books are going to be added in. Okay, so I do want this to get implemented by the small business owners, mom and pop operations, because there's no need to be in a very expensive gallery just to have art represented. I would rather be represented by 1,000 coffee shops and mom and pop operations and groceries, even, in one city, than be represented by one single gallery in one city. See, it starts making sense, right? I'd rather be because I'd be more popular that way. Like I'd be more popular if I were in 1,000 cafes, and then all these cafes get all depends on the artist. All these cafes can get commission just by holding their just by having the book on the shelves. Okay, so there's a lot of possibilities. Okay, investors, you can you'd be hard pressed to buy something from a gallery and then return to the gallery and ask that same gallery to resell your work, the work that you purchased from them. You'd be hard pressed to do that. They can easily tell you, "Oh, sorry, we have a policy not to do that." When in fact they don't know as many people as they want to resell to somebody else, because you're probably the only person they know. I'm sorry, but that's the business of galleries. Okay, it's the business of being mysterious and like not sharing information, not sharing contacts, and not even sharing their own artists to investors, because investors might just go straight to the artist and forego the galleries. See, so we're doing a different business model, right? So if you went to a cafe and bought a $50 art piece from a cafe, and you see that the charge online and from the cafe and elsewhere, the chart of the artist is indicating that uh, the current price would be 5,000. Then you can return to the gallery, no, to the cafe, and ask them, hey, I bought this from you, $50, and uh, now the artist is selling for 5,000, for example. Um, can you resell the work? The cafes will be happy to do the same to do that. You know why? Because they already have the books, they already are invested in the same artist. So what's the big deal? They'll take your art back and resell. Okay. And you probably already also produced art books that included that art. So there's even more books to show that art is collectible. Okay, so that's provenance. So let's say an artist produces 5 books, and everyone else is collecting them. That same artist produces like more books. Then that's provenance for you. You'll be able to see and trace all these art pieces through the books that get produced. From the artist on all the way to the future books by others. Okay. Now this idea is easy, and most people will think it's hard. Use it to your advantage. Why? Because we know a lot of artists, right? I mean, as an artist myself, I know so many artists. Okay, but not everyone produces books. Okay, so the more other artists would say, "Hey, this is difficult. I don't want to do this," the more you should do it, because the earlier bird gets the bigger worm. Okay, so this is new right now. So I'm just gonna be continuing to produce my books. I'm not gonna be stopped by people who are gonna say, hey, you know what, this is a hard thing to do. I don't think it's hard. Okay, and I've produced my books already. I just need to produce more. So as soon as you prove to yourself that you can produce a book, you're gonna tell yourself you can produce more books in the future. And you can only say that if you've done the first book. And usually the first book is the hardest. And that's why I'm telling people to collaborate. Okay, so hopefully it works for you. Okay. But if you say it's not for you, that's fine, because other people will succeed before you do. Uh, that's that's just a natural thing. Okay, so remember to collaborate. Okay. Now get your pen, paper, and calculator and see how much money you need for your company. Now let's say you're a an auto showroom. You sell cars, right? Uh, and you're not making as much money as you want. Then get art into the mix, and you already have contacts. See how you can stimulate people to start getting art from you. All you need are artists with their books, and you don't have to produce your own books, but you can have like 100 books, and you can have one book you produce for yourself, for your company, for your car showroom, and then everything else is provided by the artists and whoever else who will have books available already. Okay, now who's BM? Bernie Madoff. Okay, now he promised $65 billion to his investors. Okay, $65 billion, but he was all through those decades he was lying, right? Now imagine this. Let's say you're Bernie Madoff, okay, or imagine yourself in his position. He's been lying for decades. Okay, and then this art Valzubiriagenda idea with all these pointers about scarcity and price increase and all that gets introduced. Um, you can almost be able you can you it's possible for you to save yourself so you wouldn't have to go to jail. See, so Bernie Madoff, if only he had a contract or agreement with one or two artists, would have been able to raise $65 billion. Okay. Uh, as with that exponentially increasing values that I showed you earlier, um, 15% would have gone to the artist, and then 85% would have gone to you or Bernie Madoff. Okay, so um, let's say uh, let's say two artists were used by Madoff. Then there's a lot of money in there. It just all this really just needs to be accepted, and that's the reason why I did the water visualization technique. I'm hoping to be able to convince a lot of people and get attention over to here, and use it for yourself. So when it comes to art, you can price yourself exponentially, like 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. You cannot do that with real estate. You cannot do that with stocks. Stocks tend to have like stock splits, or not all of them. Only the successful ones. Just a few, from my understanding, less than 10 were able to do this stock splitting, which amounts to like exponential pricing. Uh, there's less than 10 companies who are able to do that from like at least 2 decades ago to now. Okay, but like I said, like it took decades or years, many years, for them to be able to show exponential pricing. With art, all you need to do is to get snowball the demand for the artist that you're with, and you can snowball the demand like almost overnight. Hopefully, maybe it'll happen to. I hope it happens to me. Um, and then and then count your blessings in a few days, something like that. Okay, so we're talking exponential pricing, and this is the cover of the book. See that graph? That's 10 steps increasing by doubling. So if you can look at that, if you can look at the graph, that's just 10 steps. Okay, you can freeze this frame and count. Uh, so from $100,000, for example, which is the example I've been showing you, it can be $10, it can be $100, okay, it can be $1. But if you look at if you invested earlier on and you invested in $100,000 per piece in an artist, in 10 steps, that 100,000 could become 51,200,000, $200,000. And if you put in like a 20 art pieces from that same artist, then hopefully everyone else does that, and the demand gets snowballed. The artist can, for example, go from a price of $800,000 and just start and just say, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna ask everyone $51,200,000 for the rest of my art pieces. And then something like that. You can jump prices. And if that happens, then if it happens to you, then you're good. You can always give a discount to the next investor. Okay, just as an incentive. Okay, so that's what I put in the cover of my book, and Silverio Perez's book. Okay, so this is why I write memoirs. Okay, I want to help you. I want to be the example. So if you say, hey, you know what, let's follow Val. All you need to do is to start with one book. For example, if you're an artist, start with one book and start with one picture book, and see where it goes. You'll feel different. I'm confidently saying this now, and this is why I'm only coming out now, because Valzubiriagenda is the how-to. So I wrote four memoirs first, and then gave myself a break. And as soon as I got Valzubiriagenda done, I'm now promoting myself with confidence, because you cannot erase the accomplishment of books from a person. I've written 4 books now. I'm actually writing. I've plans to write at least 3 more. Well, there's a secret to it. Okay? Valzubiriagenda. Get that book. I told you some secrets there of how to write as many books as you want. Okay, now let's say let's see. Our books last 303,000 years. See, and that's why I'm not doing this for myself. I can die in 5 years. Who knows? But I leave with you my art and my books, and it's already written. When the art gets finished, because I'm proposing from it's my art is kind of complicated, and it takes time. It's multi-stage art. I make porcelain dolls, and that's why I have Dalman the Musical. And I will write written through Dalman the Musical is written in like a script type of form. I will write a more comprehensive Dalman the Musical, or the Dalman. I'm more of an artist as the doll maker later. But right now you have 5 books of mine, and I promise that each and every art piece that I make, I will include in at least 1 art book, if not more. There's ways to do it, and once again, when you start getting into self-publishing, you can produce as many books as you want. Okay, so here's something else that I haven't told you, which I did write in Hocus Pocus lately. When I was talking to the healer 30 years ago, and I highly respect the healer, but I was just so scared about what he was able to do, and he kind of told me I'd be able to do this as well. So I laughed. Okay, but he said something to me, and I told him I wanted to be a writer, and then he said, "Hey, you know what? We had the Old Testament and then the New Testament, and who's to say that we are not making or writing the Third Testament? And maybe eventually there's going to be a Fourth Testament as well, because we, through the years, through thousands of years, we get smarter and smarter." And it's just too bad, that a lot of us seem to have forgotten God right now. And so each and every book, I think, that if you go to a bookstore and all these ideas and everything, everything you see in a bookstore, they can be the third testament. You go to a library, that could be the third testament. Every collection of books is a testament to God. See, so uh, what I'm saying is, I highly respected that idea, and I guess it impacted on me so much that, like decades ago in the 1980s, I was kind of like, one of these days I will have a book written, because that's how important it is to me. Because I kind of, this healer made a mental suggestion to me that, maybe we are writing the third testament, and I'd like to be included. That's what I was thinking. So, the more books I produce, the more I am reliving that idea, that we're writing the third testament. So when you say you can't write a book, then you can't, you're also saying you can't contribute to this huge, you know, huge library of the Third Testament. So I encourage you to do at least one book. And once you've written one book, you'll write more, because in your mind you've proven to yourself that you can write. See? Okay, so that's why I write books. Now here's my art. I want to make dioramas with precious metals and gemstones. So this, what you're seeing right now, is just the doll. Okay, but I have ways to, like, I have approaches. Okay, so I want to make a diorama with, it's gonna be like a Fabergé egg. It's like all different media and all different materials, and uh, everything contributes to one diorama. And I have plans to do with the hands. Okay, so the hands are gonna change. They're not gonna be. I don't plan for them to be porcelain. Uh, okay, but that's my idea right now. Okay, right now I'd like to tell you that, despite, my vision of $200,000 or $100,000 to start, I have $10 right now on eBay. Just look for Super Jewel 5. That's my username on eBay. I have I'm going to be pricing my works from 3,500 to 10,000, but eBay told me there's a limit. So I'm starting with 3,500. Whatever you're seeing there, it's going to be 3,500. So get it now, because there's only going to be 10, and after which hopefully I jump to the $200,000. So once again, I'm not kidding. I'm not telling you I'm lying, because it's written on paper, and it's written on this video. And I can assure you, I can tell you, hey, you know what? I have 5 books right now. I've actually written 8. I have 8, uh, except that I am officially promoting 5. Okay, so that's why. Okay, but I have written 8, and I've helped other artists do the same thing. So Richard Lau, I have helped him with 3 art books, and I'm helping him with this memoir, and he has 273 works right now. You can contact me if you want his works. Now, Andrea Kasprick is from Chicago, and you can find her online. I have no plans to profit from her. I'm just so honored to be making her first book, and it just needs a few more edits, after which we will release it. So that's one artist. Look for Stephen Lowell Swanberg. He's based in Chicago. He paints and he takes photographs. I don't know what his plans are, but I'm telling you, I will not leave him behind. Same thing with Popo San Pascual, who's based in Manila. Popo, that's his first name. San Pascual. Okay. Now, Sam Bonilla is very well known in Madison. I have some of his works. I am telling you, go to Madison, Wisconsin, look for him. He's another person I would not leave behind, and I'm encouraging you to get him. Now, if you know where Tom Nelson's art pieces are, get it. I have files of. I can make a book of his right now. Um, it's in my old computer. So I think I have 65. I photographed at least 60 works of his, and that's Thomas Nelson. Okay, now he's passed on, so I'm assuming his son has his works. Now there's who else? Paul Samuelson. I would assume that his relatives has his works as well. Um, he passed on way back, yeah, a few decades ago. Um, Paul Samuelson. Okay, so all these people are important to me, and I will write about them eventually, in the future. Okay, so once again, other artists are doing this now. Hopefully, not only the artists that I'm talking about, because eventually I'll hopefully have a database of or lists of people who are starting to do this. Okay, so I'm encouraging you do this now because we're early. It's early on. It takes time to produce books. So when you say you want to do it now, you can make an announcement online. Use the hashtag Valzubiriagenda. Start saying, hey, you know what? I want to do this. I'm an artist. I'm looking for a writer. Or here's something else too. If you want 6 books in 6 months, um, get in touch with 6 writers or 10 writers, because some of them might back out, right? So look for 10 writers, exchange, barter your works with these writers, and they'll produce your books. And then 6 months, you'll have 6 books. Okay. So if a big bank invests in an artist, they will make an announcement. And so if you're an investor, head over to that same artist. Okay. Now I'm hoping this video goes viral. So talk to your friends and colleagues. If you're a struggling business, look into um, look into all this. Okay. So spread the word. Okay, there's 3 reasons why you would spread this video. One is to make money from art. Number 2 is if you know somebody who's sick or who wants to get younger or who wants to or is going to the gym and whatever, then we have the water visualization techniques to help them with, and that's why this Valzubiri agenda is also in this video. Now I think the reason why this video is going to be circulated is because of number 3, which is how to see invisible beings, and it can be done all over the world. Now I'm still assuming that it can be done, right? So hopefully everything. Hopefully people get to do this. Okay. Now I will have some warnings about that later, but we're still in the Valzubiri agenda. Okay. So my goals is to popularize myself and some artists to start. Now at the end of the video, I will mention them again. Now as I make money, I hope to be able to rent a warehouse or get a warehouse for not just for myself but for artists who are local around here, and then also for collaborators. Uh, okay, now the collaborators would be writers and whoever else, book designers and all that. They can. I'm also hoping to get computers and the book design software, and like Photoshop and all that. Um, I hope to be able to have that in my computers, so that everyone all over the world can be helped. Or even as everyone else all over the world has there's a lot of book designers there out there, but at least I'll have some people here that would be able to help themselves to do what I'm doing, which is write and come up with books, design books, edit, proofread, take photographs of art pieces. So all this I hope to be able to at least be able to maintain a warehouse for all this. Okay, so that's my goal for the moment. Hopefully I succeed, with your help. That's why I really am asking for like a lot of money. Okay, so my art. Okay, here's my funny thing. Okay, I hope that you will reserve sight unseen. There's my email, my website. You can go to my website and reserve there. Go to my email. My email is valzubiri at gmail.com. My other email is valzubiriagenda at gmail.com. Now it's first come first serve, which means the timestamps are important. So I will respect the timestamp. Okay. So if you're panicking and you're going like, oh, I gotta have Val's works, you can email me as much as you can, as much as you want. Use Valzubiri and then also use Valzubiri Agenda. They're both at gmail.com. Okay. Now, let's see. Uh, as so, my future art books will include your works, the works that you got, and I will also have future books. But right now, I already have memoirs. I have 5 books right now that I can tell you is part of my idea of marketing myself. Okay, so hopefully by virtue of that, you can trust me. Okay, now obviously, as I've shown you my timeline, I have been into this for more than 10 years, 30 years, 30 plus years. Okay, so I'm making this easier through the Valzubiri Agenda book. I'm hoping that everyone else finds it easier and faster than the 30 years I put in. See? So it's really just my faith. You know, I do have faith in God, and I feel like I was directed to do this. So all this is about faith. See? So it's not about me making it rich and become successful. I could have done that in another profession many years ago. Okay, so it's just like I feel it's my calling. Okay, so um, you know, if it needs for me to write more books and have another 30 years of waiting, I'm willing to do that. You know, so that's how much I believe in this project. But hopefully not. You know, like, hopefully things happen for the better. You know, like, as soon as possible. Okay, so now we are gonna move to seeing invisible entities. Okay. So now the tabs move to the third, right? The third elliptical circle. Okay, so uh, I wanna give you warnings. Okay, so the types of invisible entities that I think you might see would be the physical and the spiritual. Okay, with the physical, okay, with the physical, it could be present, future, and from Earth, alien. Okay, what what I want to tell you is there may be physical human beings present from the present who are able to cloak themselves. Okay, like maybe the military already have a technique for technology to do that. Now, as far as future is concerned, future human beings would want to return to the past so they can observe us as we move forward to their future. Okay, so they can be like researchers or tourists or whatever, but they don't want to disturb us too much because they might alter their future, right? So that's why they don't want to be seen. Now, as far as the present human beings are concerned, then it's probably more about the military, so they also don't want to be seen, right? Now, these are the two safe people or entities, okay, invisible entities, okay. Uh, there might be elementals, you know, so they're based on Earth. Okay, now there might be aliens which are based, you know, outside of Earth, and they come here for whatever reason, and that would be the aliens, right? Now, when it comes to spiritual invisible entities, there might be good people or good individuals. There might be angels, and then the bad ones might be, you know, people from hell. Okay, so what I want to show you here is that all these are sentient beings. They can think, they can communicate with each other. Okay, so excuse me. If you're not supposed to see them, they won't let. Um, and you accidentally see them, you might get in trouble in a really bad way. Okay, so I'm just warning you because it's easy to do what I did, and you need to be careful. Okay, so let's go to the next screen. Okay, in 1959, you go on YouTube. Oh no, not YouTube. Go to Wikipedia. There's an entry called the Dyatlov Pass. Okay, in 1959, 10 friends who are supposed to be like highly rated hikers or something like that. One had to return because of an injury, and then 9 were left to keep going. Uh, it was winter time. They all disappeared, all 9 of them. They were found dead with different reasons for dying, causes of death, and they're mostly unexplainable. Okay, so they may have seen invisible beings that they were not supposed to see, and so they were attacked and killed on the spot. And I just want to tell you this because I need you to be aware of like how dangerous this can be. Okay, so now there's no number of examples that would be enough to warn you that this is dangerous, and that's why when I was saying I'm smiling, and I shouldn't be. This is why. Okay, so there would be others who would want to be first to do this. Okay, and they would have their own reasons for doing it. I would say wait for them to confirm that you know it's either safe, nothing happens, something happened, they survived. Okay, just because Halloween is around the corner, it's a coincidence. I've been planning to do this for many months now. I just couldn't get myself the courage and the feel that it's final. That I really have to share this with you. Um, I actually prayed and prayed and prayed and asked for signs, and eventually I got the signs. So signs from God. Okay, that I probably should share this with you. So right now I'm confident enough to be able to share this with you. It's because I prayed a lot. Okay, so if you remember some movies and some shows, um, like Star Trek 8, First Contact. You remember that if you've seen it. Uh, they had to they somehow the future or the past was altered, or the future was altered because the past was altered. So the Star Trek crew had to return to Earth, yeah, around the time when they were about to meet the Romulans, I guess. Like Spock's uh, what do you call that? Spock's species, something like that. Okay, so that's First Contact. Okay, basically what it is they just really need to surpass some degree of like a speed, like a speed of a spaceship, and then the beings from other planets, came down to say, "Hey, welcome to the universe." I wouldn't I wouldn't know if that would fall into this thing that I'm gonna tell you. If we're gonna have first contact and then everyone's gonna say, "Hey, welcome to the universe." I don't know. Okay, I can't. This is just a movie. Now, same thing with Voyager, season 4, episode 7. Uh, the show was titled Scientific Method. So 7 of 9 was started to see, and then eventually everyone else saw that they were being experimented on by invisible beings. Uh, and these beings were saying, "Hey, it's the scientific method. We're like making you behave the way you behave, and giving you diseases and all that, just so we can observe you and bring the results and their observations back to their planet. So that's Star Trek Voyager. Now the Frighteners, Michael J. Fox, is a movie where he has friends from the afterlife, all these ghosts. He would ask them to like do weird things so that he'll become like some sort of like a ghost buster or ghost whisperer, where he pretends to like get these ghosts out of homes and whatever, but they're really his friends, and that's the Frighteners. So I can't. Yeah, these are just movies. So I don't know if they're like whatever we encounter or you encounter would be as safe as a movie. Okay. So so I need you to be careful. Okay. Now you remember those Key of Solomon? If you go to the bookstores, or go online, there would be these titles like the Key of Solomon the King, or the Book of the Sacred Magic of Abramelin the Mage. Okay, so these are supposedly like sacred texts or grimoires or esoteric writing, uh, like methodologies for having magic and getting in touch with angels and all that. Um, I wouldn't. I'm just warning you, don't get tricked. Okay. Um, I personally wouldn't want to learn these things. Okay. So what happened to me was like a Faraday cage, I guess, or a reverse Faraday cage. Uh, Maybe it's a new way to hallucinate or have an out of body experience. So maybe what I'm gonna be telling you is really just hallucinations or whatever. So I can't guarantee results. Okay, that's basically it. Okay. Now you're supposed to do it in a safe place. Okay. Do it in a safe place, like for example your bedroom. Okay. Don't go to the forest and sleeping there with with this thing. I don't think you're asking for danger. Okay, in many ways. Okay, so the safest place I would think would be where you're living at, and I would prefer to be living in a city. If you're gonna do this, live in a city. Be in a city. Okay. If you're psychic, you might experience this. Like okay, so I don't know if it's gonna happen to everybody, but let's say you claim to be psychic. Maybe it'll happen to you. If you're not afraid of ghosts, then you're welcome to do this, I guess. If you claim to be a star child, indigo child, RH negative, um, make sure you're normal. Otherwise, you have no mental health issues. Once again, continue to do this in a safe place. Okay, so you might think you're doing the world a favor by doing this because you feel like you're RH negative, or you're a star child or star seed. Um, I would say if you don't feel the need, don't do this. Okay, wait for somebody else to do this, and then if they say it's safe, then do it. Okay. Now, once again, don't have. Hopefully, you have no mental health issues. Okay, and you actually don't know how you would react, and nobody would know how you would react if they're in the same bedroom with you, and you're doing this, and then you suddenly like start acting weird. Okay, so I can't say parameters of safety, and I can only warn you. Okay. Now you might have PTSD, you might be suicidal, you might be depressed, addiction, insomnia. I would say avoid this if you have schizophrenia. Not insomnia. That's dangerous too. Because you know when you start depriving yourself of sleep. For example, when you have a project you need to work on and you're lacking sleep, you start hearing voices. You start dreaming while you're awake. Stuff like that. Now that's not good. If you're like that and you do this, you're gonna push yourself even more. So that's not good. Um, Now I have to tell you that when this happened to me in 9/11, 2001, I was very worried about myself. Okay, because I wasn't able to pay my bills on time around that time, and um, so I was not I wasn't myself. And then this happened to me, so I was even pushed even farther. Uh, Although I wouldn't say I probably was depressed, but I was obviously not suicidal. I mean, okay, let's say I have PTSD from 6 years old. No, that doesn't count either. Okay, so what happened to me was accidental. Okay, so but uh, if you know for a fact then you're already taking drugs for PTSD or whatever else, depression, all that, and schizophrenia, then I would suggest don't do this. Okay, you're taking a risk. Okay, so you might want to do this. I would say no, don't do it. Okay. Okay. Now, what happened to me in 9/11? Okay. Okay. So 9/11, I had my setup. For 2 weeks, I've been sleeping on an airbed, but it keeps deflating. Eventually, I guess I got it on sale from the local hardware store, and um, so how winter dries plastic and all that. So eventually it had pinprick holes. So I sleep on a bed, but by the next morning I'd be sleeping on the floor, with a deflated air mattress. Okay, so um, also I lived in a studio, and I lived in a studio in a tall building. It had 43 floors, I think, and I lived on the fifth floor. So uh, my phone outlet was the outlet for the phone was in the middle of the studio, right? So at the most, there's probably like 60 feet of from end to end. Okay, one end would be the uh, the bathroom, and then the other end would be the farthest point of the apartment. Okay, so I bought myself what do you call that, uh, a remote phone, like a wireless phone, something like that, for the home, where the one that has a cradle, so you put the phone back on the cradle, so it recharges, and then if the phone rings, you just pick it up. You can walk around the place, right? Now, I like that phone, except that I started hearing my neighbors, the conversations of my neighbors. So eventually, I decided not to have that, because I was thinking they'll hear my conversations too. So so what I did, I tend to save my wires and electronic gadgets and whatever. So I had like two 25-foot cords for the phone. So I spliced them together, and then and then I started using my old phone. So now I can walk around with my phone with me. I can even be in the bathroom, with my phone right next to it. Uh, right, I'm using the bathroom and using my phone, right? So that was a good move, right? Except that at night, uh, I would have all this phone cord, that I tripped over. So what I did, I started gathering my phone, like with my like a garden hose. So I'd loop them around my arm, and then I'd have like I'd have my phone, right, my phone cords. I would set it under. I used to set it next to my bed, right? But if I needed to use the bathroom at night, A few times I tripped over my own phone cords. So I started putting it under my bed. Okay. So the loop would be under my bed, my air mattress bed, and my head would be on top of it. So when I need to use the bathroom, then I wouldn't have to like trip over my phone cord. Okay. So here's what happened. Um, I just suddenly woke up and I looked at my. I'd have my digital red, with the red numeric display. I'd have it right next to my bed, right, and my phone would be right next to me as well, right next to the clock, right. So I woke up and I looked at the clock and it was exactly 3:00, 3 a.m. And then I looked around and I was like working. I was wondering why for a while, because I had my glasses off. My glasses were next to me because I wore glasses. So it wasn't really clear, but I kind of noticed that uh, that night at 3 a.m. there was no ambient light that was coming from the outside, because I had light from there's the party area was on the third floor. It's outdoors, like beneath that third floor area would be the second floor, and the first floor parking the garage. So on top of that was a large area, was like a rooftop with the decks and whatever for sunbathers and whoever else. So there'd be lampposts there, and I was on the fifth floor, right? So I'd get ambient light from the next building, from those lampposts on the third floor, and from the lampposts on the street level, and you know, so I would have ambient lighting, even though all my lights were off. I can still discern light, okay, light and shadow. And that night it was all shadow. There was no ambient light coming from anywhere. And um, and I, my unit was like curved, because it was in the corner part of the building, and the building had a curve. So it's not a rectangular building. It's more like two corners and two curves. Okay, like a leaf. Okay, so mine was curvy. So the ambient lighting should have come from two directions, right? And there was none, right? And then I kind of discerned that there were like beings just looking at me from the edge of my bed, which was already deflated at 3 a.m., right? And so I pretended to sleep again, to go back to sleep. I kind of had a joke for them, so I pretty much said, hey, if you guys can hear me and understand me, I need money, send me money. I really appreciate that, because I'm always worried about my money, and I need to pay my bills. So I kind of joke like that way. So I was kind of like, if they really want me harmed, they would have done already. But being that they're just watching me, uh, I made a joke, and then I put the covers, and I did that after I put covers, the cover, my bed sheet, my what was that? My comforter. I put it on. I put it over my head first, and then I joked about it. Uh, and then I don't know how long I just forced myself to sleep, and I suddenly found myself inside in a vivid dream. So I was dreaming, right? And I was telling myself, hey, I'm in a vivid dream. I know I'm dreaming. And then I kind of decided to stay in the dream. I kind of told myself, uh, I can't be waking up because the shadow beings might still be there, right? So I said, so I told myself, I'm just gonna enjoy this dream. It's a vivid dream. So it was kind of dark, except for one light from a source like towards me and a little to my right, a little to the right, okay, and above, above. And so that's the only light source, right? And then from my right were soldiers in uniform and with guns rushing into smoke in front, like right around where the light was coming from. And then civilians in office attire coming out of the smoke and heading towards my left, going to my back. Uh, so I, if there's one observation as I was looking at the civilians, the women were wearing office clothes, but the men were wearing ties and their long sleeves, and they were just and not their top coats, right? So I was kind of like, they must be really in a hurry to get out there, that they even actually stopped caring uh, to wear to get their top coats, from wherever. So, uh, so I was observing where there, the smoke, right? So I was kind of like, how come that smoke? It's not moving, It's like in a state of suspended animation. It's not moving anymore. It's just like billows of smoke, and then but that isn't moving, right? So I floated. I said, I need to get closer to there. So I floated to the thing, right, to the smoke where everyone was coming out and the soldiers were going in. And I kind of noticed that it wasn't smoke, it was dust. It was it's dust particles that were suspended. As I and then I told myself, oh, this isn't smoke, it's dust. And then I kind of realized that the place where it was coming from was a flight of stairs. So the soldiers were going up and the employees were coming down. And then I looked above, and that light source that I noticed was the only light source for the place. And I was kind of like, hey, this is not. I know where this place is. It's a fire escape. And then when I kind of realized that the smoke was dust, I was kind of like, so that explains it, because I was wondering earlier why my vivid dream was so vivid, and I knew I was dreaming, but um, the color was monochromatic. It was the color brown of stale chocolate. That light brown color when the chocolate uh, starts to segment, to what do you call that, to to get stale, and so the oil's separate from whatever else. So it's that dark light brown shade of chocolate that everyone was covered in. So it's kind of like, oh, so that explains why the entire place was monochromatic. It's because everyone was covered in dust. Okay, so that's what happened to me. Then my phone rang. I woke up, and my caller ID was a separate unit. Remember, this was in 2001. So the caller ID was right next to the phone, and I was going like, well, it was well. I looked at the caller ID, and it was my friend, um, who owned the gallery, and we talk every day. And she had been so we talked every day. So I didn't answer it. I went back to sleep because I like to sleep, right? And I was tired, and I was just relieved to notice that it was daytime. Okay, so when she called me the second time, I started to wonder maybe she really needed my help, because she had been complaining about her Macintosh and her printer not working together, and maybe a client was coming over and she needed help, to fix it. So I answered the phone. I said, "Hey, what's up?" And she goes like, "Turn your TV on." And I said, "Okay, what channel?" And she said, "Any channel." So I turned my TV on, and guess what? I saw I saw you know this reporter with dust, like on top of his head. I was like, oh my God, what's going on? And it turns out one plane had crashed into a building and the World Trade Center. And then I was just shocked. I was telling my friend, hey, this is exactly my dream from last night. And then I told her the entire thing, like I saw beings, I saw shadow beings like at 3 a.m., exactly 3 a.m. And then I saw this vivid dream of soldiers and civilians, office people. And then I kind of said goodbye, so I can watch more. But while I was talking to her, I kind of remembered that the second tower fell, or the second tower had another crash, and then I put the phone down, and then the towers fell. Uh, I think even before that, my mom called me, so I told them again, my mom and my sister. I told them what happened the night before. And then my sister kind of said, maybe it's your uncle, maybe it's our uncle visiting us, letting you know that it was his anniversary. Because I had an uncle who was born in September and died in September as well. Okay, so um, okay, so what happened next? I was just shocked, because something happened to me the night before, and it wasn't just one single psychic phenomenon. It's two. I woke up at 3, and then I had the vivid dream, right? So that's more than one incident on a very important day, and that's why I am now going to show you how it happened and why it probably happened. Okay, so my phone cords were wound up like this, and it was right smack under my head. Okay, because it was under the plastic inflatable mattress. Okay, so it was attached to the phone, and then I had my phone, right, and then I had my clock, and the loop 50-foot wire, except for whatever slack was needed for the outlet and for the phone. That's 50 feet with one splice. Okay, if you want to be exact, it's spliced, and it's connected by tape. Like office tape. I didn't have rubber tape done for insulation, so the connection between the two 25-foot wires was a little exposed, I guess. So if you want to duplicate my situation, this is it. Okay, using two 25-foot wires. Now let me show you. So here's your setup. Okay, so from here, okay, this one doesn't show the tarp. Okay, the tarp would be the one that's gonna insulate you from electrocution. Okay, now use duct tape, and like just tape it in a loose way, so that you don't get choked by your own phone wire. Okay, so because you might panic. Okay, so so here's what I would suggest for you to do. Okay, so you have your blanket so you can cover yourself if you get frightened. You have your usual pillow so you can be comfortable, but underneath the pillow and yourself and blanket would be a tarp, the plastic tarp. That way it might be uncomfortable and sticky. So but it's important because you don't want to be accidentally electrocuted. And not only that, like what if you wet your bed? Okay, so don't tell me that's not gonna happen. Okay, so you better be able to insulate yourself from the wire. Okay. Now duct tape the cord so you don't accidentally choke, right? Okay, so there's plastic tarp for insulation against accidental electrocution. Especially don't do this when it's there's a lightning storm or there's a storm at all. Okay, because you might get. I don't think it's safe. Okay, so do that. And so here's the materials. Okay. There's a 50-foot cord that I had from two 25-foot cords. Okay. Now there's a working phone line that I had. I had working phone lines. I had a phone. I did not have a video camera. You probably have one now. You need a bed. You need a digital clock, and you need a plastic tarp. And I cannot stress that enough. Okay, so now because you might not have a working phone line, uh, maybe you don't have a phone number for your phone line, but it's probably still working. I don't know if that's good enough. Now, if you attach a phone there uh, to your uh, to your unused phone line that doesn't have any subscription, you might not hear a dial tone, but you'll hear some sort of a static. So it means that there's some sort of a, like phone signal coming in and out of there. So maybe that's good enough. I'm not sure. Okay, but I'm just making these suggestions because I've been analyzing this a long time. So you might still need a phone cord. Okay, or you might want to use your cable TV. So what if you use cable TV, the connection, and like loop it like I did. Okay, so this loop of cords would not be phone cords. They could be cable cords or your Ethernet cords or your electric cord that you can plug into something, plug into a device right next to you. Okay, so that way there'll be a continuous whatever connection. Well, but I'm not sure. I'm only sure of a working phone line because that's what happened to me way back. Okay, so this is freeze this screen if you want to make a list or copy the list, and then these are suggestions. You might want to use if you don't have a phone cord, try using cable or electric to connect it to something and see if that works for you. Make sure it's 50 feet or more. Okay, now you might want to use a video camera. Now the digital clock is important because I'm almost sure that you would have no time looking at your wrist. Okay, for the time. Okay, you'd be if you see something really scary, then why would you even like look at your watch? You'd be so terrified you wouldn't even move. Okay, now make sure you tape together the loop cord or the wire. Okay, so that it doesn't choke you. Okay, so I'm suggesting you use reliable duct tape, but spread the wires around. Don't bunch them together because you're gonna be lying on it, so you don't want to hurt your spine or your back. Okay, with that big bump of a wire. Okay, so spread them out and then tape them. Okay, so here's what I think would happen. Okay, racism. These beings I saw, they're skinless. They have no skin. They're just shadows. Okay, so if you realize that there are other beings that don't have skin, you will certainly start realizing that racism would not be a part of our lives as human beings. We should celebrate everyone's races and all different skin colors. Okay. Now, remember, remember when Ronald Reagan talked in the United Nations? He gave a speech. He said, wouldn't it be like something like, wouldn't it be funny if we realize that there's a bigger threat that's not human out there? Then that means we humans would have to get together and cooperate, and so there would be no more, no racism, no barriers, no borders, um, because now we have a different we have a different enemy. It can't be us against each other. See? Okay, so now if you're a crook and you kind of realize that what I gave you, for example, these invisible entities. Okay, remember when I was asking, why is it here with us? Why are they in our homes? Where is that? Okay, here. Why are they in our homes? I think it's because they are waiting for us to die, and they're toying with us. Maybe they're uh, putting in conflict in our minds so that we can sin and we can, do more and more mistakes and think bad thoughts so that they can drag us to hell. Okay, so that's my thing about crooks. If you know you're a crook, one way or another, you can justify it with different words or whatever, but these beings don't care. You can justify it as much as you want, and like there'll be finger pointing and judgment day saying you only were following orders. I don't think it's valid for these for these beings. I don't think they're even people. Okay, so that's what I mean. Like they'll drag you to hell the minute they can. When you die, like anytime, you're dragged to hell. Okay, so what am I saying? If you're a crook, then you're in trouble. Okay, now the gangs. Okay, what if you do this and then you kind of realize that these people that you may have killed in the past, they're there. They're coming at you. They're waiting for you. You see them. What if that's what you see? Then you're screwed. You're gonna wanna not be in a gang anymore. Or maybe the gangs are just gonna, like refocus their energies and call a truce and start being friends again. And then you're gonna have to find ways to see what you can do, so you can, like these people that you may have involved in your killings and whatever, um, they're in trouble and so are you. I don't know what to tell you. Same thing with the drugs. Like if you realize that the drugs that you've been like selling to people, these people overdose and whatever, that's a bad deed, right? So not only that, like maybe some people have already died because of the drugs. So maybe you'll see them. Who knows? You're gonna have to find out. Now, once again, when it comes to poverty and the homeless, these people are human beings. And basically, if you realize that there are other beings other than human, I think you'd look at the poverty and the homeless situation again, and you're gonna want to do something about it, because if like every I'm thinking, what if you realize that every time you feel some degree of indifference towards people who are asking you for help or asking you for money because they're homeless and they're poor and they're hungry, all these times that you took them for granted and shunned them away, and shooed them away even, or like stared at them with disgust, it's not just God who is observing you. These invisible beings have nothing else to do but observe, and count. and take tabs, and make sure that when you die, you're gonna be surprised, where you're going. So all these things, the ramifications of what I'm telling you right now, uh, they can be profound. I just don't know it yet, and because I've taken all this for granted and I've kept this a secret, and so I'm telling you this now. Okay, now this sounds like a scam, right? There are reasons why this can be a scam. I have shown you that I write memoirs, and this is gonna be part of Hocus Pocus Lately Part 2. Okay, so I can't lie. So I'm telling you the truth as best I can, right? Okay, what if nothing shows up? If nothing shows up, then it means that they communicate, which is what I've told you earlier, and they've discovered that a lot more people are seeing them. So they might say, hey, you know what? Let's hide for a while. Yeah. Let's not show ourselves for a while. Now, here's something else. Let's say you brought your phone cords, right, to a hotel that's known to be haunted by one single ghost, and there's 100 ghost investigators who come to the hotel all at the same time, and with their 100-foot phone cords, and nothing shows up, right, except for one, right? And that's because you know you're there's only one ghost in the hotel, so what more can you see, right? So that's possible. No, there sounds like a scam. Let's see. Okay, when it comes to the water visualization technique, I do say it's faith and psychic healing, um, but you might say it's part of hypnosis, which is true. It could be hypnosis as well. Okay, now placebo effect could be true if that's what you wanna, you know. But basically, the reason why I'm also showing you invisible entities, if you want to get into this, then at least you can say, hey, you know what? Val's not lying. He's telling the truth, or because of one thing, then maybe he's also telling the truth in another, something like that. So this is why I'm telling you all this. Okay. So okay, let's move on to the next. Okay, once again, what if nothing shows up? Um, uh, just keep doing it. Well, oh yeah, yeah, right. Maybe it wouldn't happen on the first night. Okay, so I would not necessarily 100% tell you, hey, you know what? If you wanna do this, start with a hotel or a motel and reserve it for one night. Okay, that's why I'm saying, hey, you know what? Do this in your homes first. Okay, and then when you're confident, and if you've seen something, then you'd be more confident going somewhere else, looking for something else. Okay, now make sure it's a safe environment. Okay, once again, I would not do this if I were in a legendary place where that's known to have killed a lot of people or a lot of chickens, chupacabra and whatever, blah blah blah. I would not start there. Okay. Now, I'm willing to take a lie detector test. Okay. Um, I am not telling you a lie. I'm not telling a lie. I am telling you what I experience, what I think you might be able to experience. I'm telling you the situations that I got myself into so that you can duplicate the situation as well. Um, and once again, I wouldn't mind getting a lie detector test, and I would not mind getting regressed if you want to see how I behave, like or see what I can say, if I were hypnotically regressed or whatever you call that. Okay, so let's move to the next. Okay, it sounds like a scam to you now. Okay. Why? Because you haven't tried it. So try it if you want, but make sure it's safe. Okay, now if you go on go to my live stream, I will answer questions. Okay, so that's another factor. I will not. I'm also showing my face. Okay. So if I were lying, I would not show my face. Okay. Uh, okay. I want to tell you, this is almost religious. Okay. When the psychic surgeon that I encountered 30 years ago, reason I left was because it wasn't just because my report was over. It was also because I noticed that the group they have was more like a cult, like that's why I never even like recommended this to I never even told my sisters, my brother, and my parents that I researched on psychic healing, psychic surgery, because I felt that they were a cult. That, it's so attractive, to be with a group of people wherein the leader uh, was able to, you know, do psychic surgery, like it's genuine psychic surgery. This guy's hand, like went through skin. All he does was this, and the skin opens up, with a wave of the hand, like a few inches from the skin. A hole gets produced, and then he was able to like put his hand in there. And I talked about that in my book, Hocus Pocus, lately. Okay, so it's this is almost religious. If you see invisible entities and you start to realize, like maybe they're spiritual beings or something, uh, then that lends itself to religiosity and the formation of cults. And this is exactly what I avoided 30 years ago, and I would not want to be joining any cult right now. Okay, but you're free to do whatever you want. You're free to do whatever you want. Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, I remain Catholic. I pray the Rosary. Okay, it's the Rosary. I've memorized other prayers. I actually even sometimes I wear scapulars sometimes. This is the green scapular. Okay, and I go to church as much as I can. Yeah, as much as I can. I make sure that I go. Well, I don't really make sure. I just go. Like Sundays or Saturdays. For they call it if you can't attend the Sunday, you can go on a Saturday night. What is that? Like I forget the name. Um, but sometimes I go Sunday, and then I go within the week, and then go on the weekends too. So there's 30-minute masses during the week. So it's shorter and faster. Um, I do. I do, what do you call this? The Stations of the Cross. Okay. Now read about that if you're not Catholic. But when you do the Stations of the Cross, there's 14 frames of Jesus Christ from his time with Pontius Pilate all the way to his tomb. So there's 14 stations inside the church, and you kind of have to genuflect uh, in every station as you say something, and then you start praying the Our Father, Hail Mary, Glory be. I'm telling you this because not everyone does it, because it's kind of humiliating if you're not used to genuflecting from one station to the next, and you know that there's many other people in the church, and they know what you're up to, and you start becoming self-conscious. You kind of have to get out of that, and that's the sacrifice that I do. I don't get self-conscious anymore. You just need to get used to it, but not everyone does it. you know especially nowadays. People don't even go to church anymore. Okay, now so that's why I asked for, that's the sacrifice I make to be able to do the healing water visualization techniques. When I say it's just visualization, I actually, it actually comes from my faith. See? So, I'm just trying to be as antiseptic and as clean to you as possible, but I do make my sacrifices, okay? And that's why I ask for money. Not because I need compensation, but because it's more like, you need to put in your mind, that we're doing a fair exchange, okay? Even if it's not. Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay, why only now? Okay. I I had this vision. I keep having visions. Like way back around 1999, I guess. I was on Times Square in New York, and I just suddenly went like this, and I just froze, and I was like, I had this vision that, like I kind of almost heard a voice, they're saying like everyone from all over the world will give you money, especially the rich. I was like, why would they do that? They don't know me. That was way back in 90. I think it was in 96 or 95, or maybe even earlier than that. No, no, no. Yeah, it was earlier than that. I was like, and then this idea about becoming a masseur, I got that like a sudden flash. It's like, oh my God, I need to do this. Um, I've had a few things happen to me that way. So I'm sure I'm guided. Like I'm not guided by my own instinct. To be honest with you, I think I'm guided by something bigger. Okay, so why only now? It's because I believe in these things. So I wait, I pray, and then I get uh, I get signs, and this right now is the way. This is the time. Like I've gotten signs from going to mass and whatever else. Okay, so like 2 weeks ago, there's this one of the readings was about Christ saying, if somebody wants to offer water to somebody in my name, then that's part of God's will. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I've been doing, for all these years. That I energize water, and then I get people to drink it, together with a few other exercises. So it's kind of like, oh my God, this is the sign that I've been waiting for. There's something else too about Moses. Moses, he deputized supposedly like 70 like elders, and only 68 was in a camp, and then the other two were somewhere else, and they also started like speaking in tongues and whatever. And so somebody from that camp ran over to Moses, and Moses' assistant finally came to Moses, and he said, "There's two who are not in the camp who are doing exactly what these other people are doing." And then the guy said, "Stop them." And then Moses said, "I cannot stop them if that's God's will. If, uh, they don't necessarily have to belong to the same camp, something like that." And it's I'll write this in my, if all this will be included in, if I release Hocus Pocus Lately Part 2. Okay, so but these are signs that I get, aside from a few others. I can't tell you now. um, and so this is my timeline. I have my reasons, I have my excuses. I also had this plan, that as soon as I get Valzubiriagenda, which is the how-to of writing memoirs, and getting published and self-publishing. Once it gets out, then I will talk about all this because everything is tied together. Okay, and this is it. This is the video I'm telling you. Okay, I've also read about books on getting famous way back in I would say 1993. I bought my most memorable earlier book, on getting famous. It's said that if you come out as let's say, if you become famous because you're an artist, no, if you become famous because you're a singer or something else, and then, or you're a writer, okay, of novels, and then you claim to be an artist later on, the public is gonna have a difficult time convincing themselves that you're also a visual artist. Okay? So I needed to come out with my take on my art, together with being able to see invisible entities and being able to heal people through water. Okay, something like that. It needs to either be, I need to be able to tell you I'm an artist first and a writer first before I'm a healer and somebody who just taught you how to see invisible entities. Okay, that way you will remember me as an artist and you'll support me as an artist, right? If I came out as only having seen invisible entities, then I'll be known like that, and you might not be able to convince, I might not be able to convince you again a second time that I'm a visual artist and I'm a writer. And that's why I am coming out with this one single video with all three things together. Okay. Okay, now that I've mentioned getting famous, I can imagine like famous people who don't know what they're doing, like, how some people are covering one eye. I don't even want to do that, like if they cover one eye, it's like symbolizing something, like maybe evil. And some of them are saying, hey, they sold their souls to the devil just to become famous artists. That's not good, because if you think about it, even if you buy $1 million homes here on Earth, it's only one tiny speck compared to the rest of the universe. And the rest of the universe can be yours after death if you're following God, Okay, so these people who claim to be in like $1 million homes, all they need to do is to plug in a 50 to 100 foot cord, and they'll see they'll see the evil beings that are waiting for them to waiting. These invisible beings are waiting to drag them to hell. So it would be funny for these people to start, famous people to start apologizing on the air, saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry, you've already done your damage." Like a lot of teens are following your examples. What if you see like demons in your, beside your beds? Now you're gonna be apologizing. I just find that funny. And heading to the heading to the monastery so you can sleep better. Oh my God, that would be so funny. Okay, now um, my future topics. I've already discussed a few. Okay, so I'm gonna be writing Hocus Pocus lately too. Whether or not you pan me or you praise me for whatever, if this works or not, I'm writing my next paranormal memoir. Um, Hypnosis. It could be hypnosis. The placebo effect. Doctors and medical reports are needed. So when we do the visualization on water, it would be good if you already have your doctor's reports, and then from there you'd want to improve. Okay, so you do everything. You watch your diet, you watch your health, you watch everything. You do the treatments, and then you do the water visualization, so that you'll see good results. Okay, so once again, I don't think this, like you're not supposed to isolate uh, this healing thing. You're not supposed to experiment with your health. Okay, so go see a doctor if you need to. Okay, so now the gifts of the Holy Spirit and the spiritual gifts of the Holy Spirit, we've tackled that. Now, the 9/11 story, I want to tell you about post-diction and Vaticinium ex eventu. Okay, I will discuss that later. There's another screen for that. Now, okay, this thing about the sense of urgency, you'd probably be asking me already, why am I only sharing this with you now instead of, like maybe a year after 9/11 would have been nice, because a lot of you are suffered from, like losing your loved ones, and you'd want to know, if they're still still alive, in another plane of existence. Um, I kind of question that, because Christ himself, when he was here, if you read the Bible, he wasn't really urgent. He there wasn't a sense of urgency, okay, in what he was saying. Uh, like when he healed 10 lepers and only one came back, there wasn't a sense of urgency to tell the others to come back as well. Okay. When he saw, some rich guy put money in the collection, and then a poor person put money in the collection, he only made a comment. He didn't say, hey, you know what, you need to change your ways now, because invisible beings are gonna drag you down to hell. He didn't say that. So I don't know what I'm claiming. Like if I'm right or wrong. Okay. So when I kind of came to that way of thinking, I was kind of like, you know what, I'll let the public know when I'm ready. When I'm mentally ready as well. Like not just spiritually, because this came to me as a shock. Okay, this wasn't easy. Like I learned healing like way back in 1986. Okay, I wrote about it in 2013, 2014, and I only forced myself to start doing in a more serious way, because I was already exhibiting, like the ability to make pain go away even before 2013. But my dad got really sick, and he had cancer of the pancreas, and so I became desperate, and I went back to learning the teachings that I learned in 1986. That's procrastination right there. And it's just too bad, that my dad passed away. But the following year, I helped this lady. Uh, she had stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and on that same night that I prayed with her the first time, uh, her coughing went away. She was able to sleep soundly for the first time in at least 2 months, and that's why she got convinced to continue the treatments. Or me and her, communicating with this with her husband. So the three of us were doing the exercises because of what happened the first night. Okay, and then within a few months, so that was from March, I think, or April, all the way to September. By September, her cancer was gone, but she needed to continue her treatments and whatever, and then that was stage 4 cancer with one of her lungs already collapsed. That was why she was coughing like intermittently, and her sister came from the Philippines to take care of her, because she was in the United States. And so it was um, I'm just glad I was able to help somebody. But I'm almost sure that my dad is in heaven right now. So I don't feel too bad for my dad either. He sent me signs too, so I'll talk about that later. Okay, let's see what else is here. Saint Thomas. Okay, Saint Thomas, the doubting Thomas. He said to see is to believe. Now I don't blame myself, when I saw, the psychic surgeon way back many years ago, 30 years ago. Yes, to see is to believe, and that's why when I saw that, I had the confidence to, like having proven that it can happen. uh, then I was confident in myself to be able to heal other people, something like that. Um, okay, so scientific approach once again. Why did I clump it there? Oh, okay. Okay, way back to cease to believe, right? But now we are more scientific. We're supposed to be smarter than 2,000 years ago. And so I guess, like if this really happens to you, that you're able to see invisible beings, then that's good. Okay, just be careful once again. Okay, now I've discussed Valzubiriagenda, blah blah blah. My warnings. This is Halloween. Just because it's Halloween doesn't mean this is, like for Halloween. It's nothing fun. What I'm saying right now. It's not fun, and it's not for fun. Okay. Let's see. Okay, here. I'll just do a quick definition. Okay. Okay, my Hocus Pocus lately, the book that you're gonna see on Amazon, it's it's the book on if you want to become not even just understand, but if you want to become a psychic surgeon, just like all the other psychic surgeons in the Philippines, everything that he taught me is in the book. Okay, so that's a good start. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer that. Just join me in my uh, live stream. Okay, now there's a few terms that I want to show you that I discussed in the book: psychic surgery, psychic healing, faith healing, and fake healing. Fake healing is when when there's a person becomes a fake healer when he knows that he has no faith. It's not based on faith. Whatever he's doing is just, going through the movements because he knows that the placebo effect is going to happen anyway. So that's fake healing. Okay, but healing still happens, or it's still possible for healing to happen because uh, of this placebo effect. Okay. Okay. Now, if it's faith healing, it means God is included. God is asked for healing to happen, and that becomes faith healing, right? Now, the psychic surgeon in the Philippines that I talked to, his teachings are Bible. His the reason for him becoming a psychic surgeon was based. Everything was based in the Bible. Okay, and you'll read that in my book. Okay, so eventually he became a psychic healer. Oh no, no, he became a faith healer, and then he was able to do psychic surgery. And so when he places his hand over somebody, like laying on of hands without psychic surgery, then it becomes psychic healing because he's already a known psychic surgeon, which would be a higher level to me in my book. It would be the higher level from faith healing. Okay, so there's faith healing, and then once it starts manifesting uh, as a psychic surgery, then it becomes psychic surgery, and then when he relaxes his healing thing, wherein he feels like he doesn't need surgery, then it becomes psychic healing. Okay, so that's what it is. Now another version of psychic healing would be if you're visualizing healing without the faith. Okay, some people are able to do that. They visualize their energies and whatever else, and it's not about faith in God or religious faith in God or the religion. Then it becomes psychic healing. Okay, so that's my definitions. Okay, now my term paper and the trends. Okay, now I've mentioned that already. Now the third testament, everything that we're writing here, might be part of a third testament. It just so happened that the third testament is the big library of books and ideas, right? And maybe even websites. So the second testament, the first testament were books, but this third testament, because we've come to an advanced state right now, it might be everything that we've written. Okay. Now, how to read the Bible? It's in the Hocus Pocus lately. Okay, so if you want to become a, let's say you want to become a like a good pilot, okay, and you want lessons from the Bible, then you read it from the perspective of looking for answers as a pilot, okay, and that's when you open the Bible that way. Let's say you're a battered housewife, so you open the Bible from the perspective of a battered housewife looking for answers in the book. See, so now when it comes to psychic healing or faith healing and psychic surgery, what the guy did was he opened the Bible and looked for passages that would support psychic healing, psychic surgery, and faith healing. Okay, so that's what that is. Okay, now here's my thing about the Bible too. This thing that I said, the sense of urgency wasn't there. I just get the feeling that whatever Bible we're using right now or anyone's holy scripture, they're rewritten. They were tamed down. Okay. Why were they tamed down? Because they need to continue to flourish all the way to thousands of years later. The only way they can do that is by being nice to the clergy, being nice to the rich, and being nice to the powerful. See? But whatever happened from way back that helped for all this, the scriptures and the religions to be able to be here now, it's actually starting to defeat itself. Okay, so because the powerful and the rich and the clergy are getting away with stuff based on the teachings that were watered down. See, so I think we have given ourselves the permission to kill other people, because the leaders of the of countries tell us to do so, but we're the ones damning ourselves. It's not them, That's what I think. Okay, now there's boss battles. Okay, now here's the boss battle. I think the Antichrist is just one of those boogeymen that was put in there because they knew it wasn't coming. Okay, there's no real Antichrist that everyone would like, because as soon as a person or anyone turns bad, everyone starts to know it. See, so there's no way for an Antichrist to really fulfill whatever is written in the Bible, because we as human beings are able to discern the bad from the good, and as soon as the bad shows up, then we start rejecting it. So there's no real, and the boss battle, like, it's mentioned. If you bought a video game, right? You wouldn't pay $50 if it's a really crappy video game. You need to have the boss battles that get harder and harder as you progress to the next level. See? So maybe there's really no real Antichrist as told in the Bible. They really just made it to look like undefeatable and whatever. It's the boss battle that wouldn't come. That way, we as people who are reading the Bible and following religion, all that, we're the ones who are, we're scared, So that's why we stick to our religion. See, it's because they invented the boss battles that was coming in from coming in the future, that might just never happen. Okay. Now, um, conspiracy theories. Okay. I'm gonna be talking about conspiracy theories because I have my own takes on those. But that's for the I would say that's for the future. Okay, now my 9/11 story. Okay, when you say it might be a scam, I can understand that. Okay, now there's two terms that I want to share with you: post-diction and vaticinium ex eventu. Okay, post-diction is when, for example, Nostradamus he wrote his predictions, right? So now later on, people in the later years, whatever events happen to us and them in the past and people in the future, we're gonna try to like match it with with the predictions of Nostradamus in order to support his claim that his what he said were predictions that are coming true. See, so post-diction is after the book has been written, then we fit into the we fit into the narrative. We fit ourselves into the narrative. We what do you call that? We look for ways to fit in, okay, to qualify ourselves into what was written in the past. Okay, so that's post-diction. Now, vaticinium ex eventu, it means let's say something happened in 1995. Okay, so in 1997, you write about it as if you're predicting what happened in 1995, and then you put in a you put in a copyright date of 1985. Okay, so you can claim, you'll show your book and you'll say, hey, you know what, I made a prediction in 1985 that something in 1995 would happen, and it did, but it's already the year 2000. So there's but when they open it, you know, you have a copyright of the previous, you know, year, so everyone starts believing you, but in fact you wrote of an event, 1995 event in 1997, and that's why it's accurate. See, so that's vaticinium ex eventum. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I could have said I saw 9/11 in a dream because I wrote about it in 2014, but I'm not predicting it because I stated it as an event that may or it still may or may not have happened. You know, I may still be lying, right? So I'm just telling you now. I know the terms post-diction and vaticinium ex eventu, and what I'm telling you doesn't fit in any of these. Again, and you can once again use a lie detector on me if you want. Okay, now I'm gonna be using tarot cards sometimes or oracle cards. Okay, every once in a while, just for, you know, just for fun. Now, once again, I told you, like, I go to church. I'm Catholic, right? Now, oracle decks. The reason they're always the reason they're accurate is because in psychology there's something called what was that? I forgot the term, but it works because uh, you relate, you know, whoever's listening to you, make the supposed predictions. uh, all the decks have human conditions. Okay, so it affects it's about humans, right? And then it also has like when you do fortune telling for other people, you ask them what they can tell you, and then you relate whatever the cards say, you relate it to what's already relevant to that person. See, and that's why it works. There's nothing strange about it, except for the effect. It's like magic. Okay, like a magician, like a stage magician. That's what it is. Okay, so I'm gonna be using that every once in a while because I'm into it. But it's different from. But the difference between that and water visualization that I do is water visualization. I believe is coming from God. So it's faith. So it's faith healing. Okay. Oracle tarot cards. They're more like random storytelling based on cards. Now, invisible entities, they're nothing psychic, I don't think, because there's a setup. There's the phone cords under your head. Okay. So these are three different things. Okay. Now, once again, I'm telling you, I'm Catholic. Okay, I do the rosary and other what's called a chaplet. The rosary is a form of chaplet. It's the most famous chaplet, but there are other chaplets. Okay, now there's holy water. You might wanna have yourself some holy water if you're gonna wanna see invisible entities. Now, I do keep holy water in my house, in my place. Now there's the Divine Mercy Prayer. Okay, what it is, well, just look for it. Like, now I reason I have suffering of Christ there is I want to tell you that I meditate more on the suffering of Christ than Christ, you know, returning from death and heading over to heaven. So I meditate more on the suffering of Christ, and that's a tip for you. If you wanna uh, start uh, becoming sensitive to, you know, I don't know, if you want to become more psychic. Once again, I don't want to use that word, but I guess I have to. So I also pray for the safety of the angels, for example, and I pray to Mary to ask God again. So I don't pray to Mary because she's a god. I pray to Mary to ask God to intercede, for her to intercede. You know. Okay, same thing with the angels. I know where the angels are. I know their place in heaven. Okay, they're not gods, and I do pray for their safety. Because who knows? I don't know. Maybe there's the end of the world, and they're gonna be like fighting the evil, whatever, demons and whatever. So everyone needs to be safe, right? So I do pray for the safety of the angels, and for the bad people, bad evil demons to like return to heaven, return to God. Okay, so now I want to tell you about the dancing ladies. The dancing ladies there's Filipinos. If you go to the Philippines, you'll see them in front of the church, and they're dancing. They're dancing with their palms and whatever. They're dancing. Why is that? It's because somebody paid them money and then whispered to them their petition, and then they dance to God, asking God for the petition of their clients to come true. See. So that's the use of the dancing ladies, and that's why the dancing ladies should be respected, because we don't know, maybe prayers do get answered that way. So that's why I have my Patreon, and I am asking for donations, because I'm also dancing for you in a way. That's what I'm saying. You don't know what I had to go through to get to this point. Okay? So I am asking for donations, and on Patreon it's priced from $1 all the way to $14,000. And I know it's funny, but it all depends on you. Okay? Whoever you are, you'll have a budget, you can afford something, send it over to me. Okay. Now you might be a crook, you might be a gang, like a gazillionaire because you've been selling drugs. Oh, that's you're in trouble, But know for a fact that I am one of those people. Oh, okay. uh, I do pray. I pray and pray and pray. Okay. Now, if you send me a lot of money, then that means I'm thankful, and they're part of my prayers. Just letting you know. Okay. So same thing. If you can, if you're. So here's the joke. Somebody actually this occurred to me. If you're leaving a lot of money to people, uh, and you kind of visualize them, after you're dead, how many of them will pray for your soul, for your immortal soul? Then you'll know. This is why I'm asking for a lot of money, because I can assure you that I will pray for you, okay? Whoever you are, on a daily and moment by moment basis. It's even more often than daily. That's what I'm saying. This is in my nature now. Okay, so that's why I'm asking for $14,000. That's, if you can afford it, then send it over. Okay, so people you leave behind, and I just told you that. The people you leave behind, you imagine them. Are they gonna pray for you, and how much? Because if you leave them with money and then they just start, continuing whatever they're doing, then you're screwed in the afterlife. Now I want to tell you, I pray for all the carpenters, the farmers, and their servants, and even their families and their descendants, and their ancestors. I pray for them, their siblings, everything. I pray for all these people. Everyone who's ever built houses for my entire family and ancestry. All the farmers who have uh, worked for us, every servant who have worked for us, like in the Philippines you can have servants. I thank them and I pray for them and I pray for their salvation and all that, that's very important to me. I don't know if you do that, because here in the United States, for example, if you think you have a mortgage, it's a fair exchange with the bank. You don't pray for, whoever might have suffered, building your house. You don't pray for that. You think it's a fair exchange already with the money, right? With the money you give to the bank. So that's what I'm saying. Like you need to pray for these people. These people you don't know. Now once again, this Times Square. When I said Times Square earlier, like I just suddenly had this revelation to me that I'm just suddenly gonna have like people helping me out, even though they're not people I know and may come from another place in the other countries. I just have this feeling that it's gonna happen. Okay, so now Judgment Day. I want to tell you about Judgment Day. When on Judgment Day, based on what like the Bible saying, there's gonna be God is gonna be judging us, and He's gonna say, "Hey, you can come to heaven, you can, or you go to hell," something like that. Um, how many people are gonna be saying, "I'm only following, or I was only following orders," and so if there's anyone to be who's supposed to be punished, it should be somebody else. I don't think that counts. That's not a good excuse. If you did things because you were following orders, you did the bad thing too. Okay, so I just want to say that before I start. Uh, before we're almost towards the end. Okay, now my hair. Okay, you're probably wondering what. Yeah, my hair. I measured my hair. It's at least 28 inches long. Okay, and I don't know if it gets on my nerves, I'm gonna cut it. This etc. that you're seeing right there, I want to tell you because you might be reading my books. Uh, I want to tell you I'm gay. Okay, so I'm basically saying I'm gay and I might be miraculous. Okay, So um, I didn't want to tell you this earlier because a lot of people would have biases on gay people, LGBTQI plus. Okay, what it is that I think we're 2,000 years later. We should be smarter. Okay, so some people cannot help it but be themselves. Now, if you're straight because okay, this is about our sexual preference. It's it's basically about our genitals. Okay, the genitals dictate. Okay, but God gave us the genitals, right? Okay, so what I'm saying is what we're fighting against is our own nature. And so basically, if you're saying a guy has to be with a girl, and you're actually believing that for yourself, and the sex for you is not something that's God given that you should be delighted to to be using. What sex for you becomes an obligation. So you're going against your nature. Okay. Now I've chosen to be gay. It's my official statement. Okay, but right now I've chosen to be celibate because of many things. So I don't once again I don't judge people. Just because a person, just because you think that sex is an obligation and not something you should enjoy, doesn't mean other people should do the same thing. You're dictating your standards on somebody else, and that might be a count against you. You're not supporting other people, you're supporting only yourself. Think about it. Okay, so that's why I'm saying my hair, Sarah. My hair is my hair. It's long. It's 28 inches long, if not more. I stopped cutting my hair in 2012, and then my dad died in 2013, and I kind of was, going through my phase. I was going like, you know what? My dad used to cut my hair, between kindergarten all the way to like uh, fourth grade or fifth grade, something like that. I think it was fourth grade when he stopped. So I kind of miss my dad. So I was telling myself, hey, you know what? I'll keep growing my hair, and like eventually when I see my dad in the next life, I'd ask him to cut it. I'd be honored to get a haircut from my dad again. That's why my hair reminds me of my dad. Okay. And my other relatives. Okay. I just can't explain this right now. Okay, so it's not because I'm gay and I put on a dress and whatever. I don't put on dresses. I let my beard grow. No, I can't grow beards. It's just whatever stubble, I let it grow. So I'm not into becoming effeminate. Okay, I just happen to have a long hair, and I think too, like maybe I'll get adopted by the Hopi Indians. Okay, so so I'm letting my hair grow. Okay. Now, as far as that etc. is concerned, I just wanted to let you know without typing it over there because you might count it against me that I am gay and I might be miraculous. Okay. So I don't think it's about sexual preference. Again, it's more about discovering yourself. And you allow we should allow people to discover themselves. Okay. So basically, the things that you are limiting, if you want to limit other people's stuff, I don't think that's good. Okay, you need to respect others, or we all need to respect others, each other, and allow each other to fulfill our dreams, and our ambitions and our goals. This is why I'm able to write my books, okay, and pursue art marketing, and um, hopefully make a lot of money for other people. It's not about me anymore. It's about everyone else. Okay, so that's I'm not a saint. Okay, no, I'm not a saint. But I'm saying is I do my best. Okay, Now, here's the next slide. Just so you know how I think. Okay. Now, when it comes to love, there's unconditional love, love for family and friends, and then there's respect, dignity, and concern. Okay. Now, what Christ was able to do was reach the point of unconditional love. Okay, which is what we should all aspire to. Now, the only thing we can safely say is that we love our family and our friends. A lot of us, if not all of us, or most of us, would say unconditional love is unreachable. It's not possible. I think that's what Christ wants us to reach, you know. Okay, now a little below family and friends is respect. You know, people earn respect. Okay, so I have to earn your respect, for example, and that's the next form of love. Okay. Now, if a person is on the street and gets run over by a car, you know, you put in a you put a piece of newspaper or cloth over his head, you know, that's dignity. Okay, so below respect is dignity. People do not expect it, you know, you just do it. You know, you expect yourself to give other people dignity. You know, respect other people. You know, you need to earn, they need to earn your respect, right? But with dignity, you just give it. You know, no questions asked. Now, if you're now that's only if you're in front of somebody who needs dignity, right? Now, if you're uh, I don't know how to rank concern, you know, but when somebody talks about something elsewhere and then you feel concerned, then that's a form of love too. Okay, like when you say when you say you're in Asia, for example, and you heard somewhere like in Africa, some people are starving, or you know some people died from a bomb blast, then that's concern. See, so that's a degree of love. But I think we all should aspire towards unconditional love. Okay, now the do nots, okay, that I go by. It's don't interrupt life, don't kill, don't interrupt other people's source of income, don't interrupt other people's families, and don't interrupt other people's dreams. Okay, because there's things that you can do where and you know people get discouraged, you know, and then they stop dreaming, for example. That's important too. I think that's important to God, because when you dream you create, and God creates. Okay, so when you create art and you make people fight over it, then you're screwed. That's what I'm saying to you. Okay, so my thoughts, you know, public apologies. If you see something, if you see that I'm right, I hope I am, you know, and these invisible beings are all around us, and you finally see them, and you finally see ghosts that are suffering, for example, then you know where you're going, you know, when you die. And it might not be heaven, you know. So public apologies, if you're a public figure, would be in order. But the damage has been done, so I don't know. I'm not sure how you can go about this one. Okay, now my theory about the goldfish. Okay, do you if if a leaf falls in a forest and there's nobody there to hear it, does it make a sound? Okay. I would say yes. You know why? Because finally we can prove that there are invisible beings in the forest and they can hear it. Okay. And God hears it. And so do the shadow beings, right? Okay, so what I'm saying with the goldfish is if you choose to be cruel, would you be better off being cruel to a goldfish? You know, starve it and then feed it, starve it, feed it, starve it, feed it, in the privacy of your own bedroom. Okay, as opposed to doing damage to millions of people all at the same time by being on TV and telling lies. Because in one, that's like, when you're cruel to a goldfish, that's one point, right? But when you're cruel to, or evil to 500 million people all at the same time, that's 500 points in one fell swoop. See? So you're screwed, I mean, if you can think that a person who would be cruel to a goldfish would be screwed, then you're even at a worse situation than that person, right? That's what I'm saying. Okay, so that's the thing about the force. You can't really say nobody hears it. Somebody hears it. It's just not human. Okay, now the key and the door. Just because I showed you the key and I showed you the door doesn't mean you can open it. Okay. Now you might have a key and the door. You might be able to open some sort of a door right now. Do it. Do it before you get punished by God. God is the punisher. We're not talking about governments here. We're talking about God. Okay, Titanic. Okay, here's my argument with the Titanic. If you think you're saved, right, and you're saying, "Oh, I'm gonna be raptured. I'm gonna be saved. I'm going to heaven. And I feel sorry for everyone else. They're not gonna be saved and whatever." Blah blah blah. That's a selfish thing, right? Don't you think? So basically, the Titanic, like going to heaven would be the ultimate Titanic, right? Experience. Would you rather be left behind so other people can be saved? Okay. I think that's the biggest riddle for us human beings. Would we rather go to heaven or hell? With the condition that everyone else goes to heaven. Okay, so that's my Titanic thing. Okay, 80-year cycle, and an example is pollution, right? Okay, 80-year cycle. What am I saying? The reason we're screwed right now, and we just keep digging ourselves into the mud and or sinking even more after all these thousands of years of trying to be smarter, is because for example, when you ask a politician's speech, you can hear it. Like they're gonna say, "I will take care of you. I will take care of your daughters and sons, and I will take care of your grandchildren," but never more than that. See, so it's an 80-year cycle. When they say, "I will take care of you and your all the way to your granddaughters," politicians and lawmakers and people who make all these policies and whatever, they're basically saying, "Okay, well, the window of opportunity and of helping and making a difference would be 80 years, and no more than that." And that's why we have pollution all over the place. See? Because we're not worried. Our plastics, the plastic that we produce, for example, they're going to be around all the way to like maybe let's say 150 years from now. But the deal was only for 80 years. See? That's how we think. So that's why. Now the exchange of money. Why did I say that here? Money gets exchanged. Okay, I don't know why I put that in. No, I think once again, when I say, "Hey, you know what? I need to be compensated because I have rents and bills to pay and whatever," then even though I asked God for help, I think God also gave me the permission to like ask people for help. See, so that's what it is. Okay, so let me show you this. Okay, the reason why we need to go back to church or wherever, like we blame the mistakes of human beings like priests, and we're saying we're discouraged from going to church because of that. We don't believe in religion anymore. Okay, so when we pray, there's solo, private, and public, and then there's group, informal. Okay, praying. When we pray in our rooms, that's private, solo praying. Okay. Now when we pray, when I do my Stations of the Cross, and I get seen by a few people in the public, then that's solo, but it's in a more public situation. Okay, so these are two different things, right? Now, when we group ourselves and we start praying, for like we're in a group meeting and then we pray, that's an informal group meeting, right? And then there's a formal group, which is when we start, um, when we go to church, when we go to mass, here and we hear the formal, mass with the priest or the minister, saying something, and everyone listens, and then everyone stands, everyone kneels, that's formal group praying. So all these need to be, for me, okay, we need to experience this in a regular basis. Okay, so we need to go back to church. That's basically what I'm saying. Even though, like priests as human beings have made mistakes, we still need to go direct. We need to be with our God, right? So we need to go back to church. These people who are making mistakes, they're human beings, right? So they're not part of the equation as far as you and God are, are concerned. See, so they're not part of it. Okay, so you need to go back to church and hear mass and do all these things and do group informal prayers. Like sometimes a group of people would pray the rosary. That's an informal group. See. Okay, so now God is aware of the helpless. Okay, here's the thing. Uh, did you notice that governments right now, they seem to be like exposed and they're doing the bad things, and they're doing it so blatantly, and the helpless people, they're 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 not really helpless. I think if they pray enough, the helpless people, God hears them. Okay, and this is also why the curses, like these witches cursing, the Wiccans cursing, and doing their whatever. The reason they work, and I believe they work, is because the powerful think they're invulnerable. Uh, they cannot be touched by these things, because they themselves don't believe it, right? But there are people who believe in what they're doing, and they're cursing all these people, these other people, and that's why uh, these people who thought they were powerful, they're running into a lot of bad luck. See, it's because God is aware of the helpless, and God helps the helpless, the poor. And if the adversary is like really huge, then that's when God intervenes. And so these curses work. I'm just saying, like this is how I believe. Okay. Now the key verse is the door, right? It's like the days of Noah. These people way back in Noah's time, they said, "Oh, we can see the boat. We're right next to the boat. So as soon as it starts to rain, then we can, we'll have enough time to go head over to the boat." That's not the case. Like you always need to be you always need to be aware. Okay, that's basically what I'm saying. Now, same thing with the goldfish. You might think you're safe, but if you're being cruel to somebody who can't help themselves, then you're screwed. Okay. Now, if you have the key to the door in this room, in this lifetime, and you have the power to open the door and close the door, then that's your power here, right? But God has the ultimate door. See, He might close it for you. He might close it and you won't come. You can't come in. See, and it's because you lack. People nowadays, they lack faith, and like comparing, like, so they close borders, for example, and they kick people out, and all these things, because they think they're doing the right thing on earth, right? But they're not. The only way, well, I think that's my uh, interpretation, right? The only way we'll find out is when we finally die, and then we'll know, if what we did on earth was right or not. Now, with seeing invisible entities, it might it might give you a different perspective of things. Okay. Now, not only that, um, hopefully you come to realize, that whatever is here right now, it really doesn't matter. Like for us to be protecting our material wealth doesn't matter. It's the next life that matters, and that's what I'm just saying right now. Okay, now I guess I'm done almost. Um, so I want to go back to the artists that I mentioned. Okay, so there's these people aside from myself that I hope will become collectible. Felix Margot Miguel, who's my brother-in-law. Paul Samuelson, who's passed on, but he's got art floating around. Um, Samuel Bonilla, who lives in Madison, Wisconsin. Thomas Nelson, who passed on, and he was living in Kansas City. Stephen Lowe Swanberg, who paints here in Chicago. Popo San Pascual. Popo San Pascual is in Manila. And Richard Lau is here in Chicago. He's 74 years old. He should be collectible because I'm working on his books right now. James Miller, he's also in his 70s, 74 years old, I think. And he's either in Colorado or Arizona. And Jerry is his twin brother. He's here in Chicago. He's my friend. He's the one I helped with 2 books. Uh, okay, now there's Silverio Perez, who's my co-author for Valzubiriagenda, and we have a few other collaborative art pieces that we want to do, or we will be doing. Okay, so and then there's Andrea Kasprick, who's living in Chicago. She paints. Now once again, there's Richard Lau. He's got a memoir, and I'm working on it. Okay, so. And then I have 10 other artists that I want to mention, but I don't have their partial or full permission for me to mention them, so I can't mention them right now. Okay, so once again, if you saw invisible entities and you go like, oh my God, like things are gonna change from this point on. My life's gonna change. I owe this to Val. Please donate what you think is fair. Okay, that's why I have from $1 all the way to $14,000 on Patreon, and you can always send me money on PayPal too. Okay, now click PayPal.com. Go to PayPal.com and then click Send Money, and then it'll ask you for an email address. It's VALZUBIRI@gmail.com. Okay. Now Patreon.com is patreon.com/my name Valzubiri, no space. Okay. Now let's go to the next one. Okay. Why do I ask what you think is fair? What money you think is fair for me? Okay. Now there's 3 bad things. Okay. That you might already be into. If you're a crook, okay, you must be lusting after money. You must be lusting after sex, and you must be lusting after power. Okay. For crooks. Okay. So basically, the 3 evil things would be money, sex, and power. Okay. The only thing you can give away would be money. I cannot ask for some sex. I cannot ask for some power. Okay. And that's why I ask for money. And if you're bad and you send me money, I will pray for you. Now I don't guarantee that you'll go to heaven, but at least you know that at least one person is praying for you. Okay, now, okay, please subscribe and also click the bell icon. I'm live streaming 1 to 3 times daily, especially if you're sick or you need to improve or if you have questions. Please, okay. Now, once again, thanks for watching. Okay. Now, this is okay to duplicate and share. It's for all of us, all over the world. Please translate if you can. Okay. Now, please donate what you think is fair. Once again, thanks for watching. And let's see. Remember what I say. We should not have to go to hell to sell our art. Okay. And we should not have to go to hell at all. Okay. Now, once again, Ronald Reagan might be right. Once we discover that there are other entities other than human beings, then we'll celebrate being together. Okay. Now, I want to tell you about my Christmas gifts. On Amazon.com, I'm going to be designing 5 books, but they're actually blank books. And on page 100, you'll see a tiny dot. So it'll be the dot, the period, the spot, the tiny circle, and the dot cookbook. Okay. It's a joke. It's a gag gift. Hopefully it sells. Now it's only $7.50 per book, and I'm hoping you can, if you want, you can pretend to praise the books online. Tell people that which parts of the book made you cry, why it's a good read. It's a slow read, it's a fast read, whatever. But there really is only one dot. So pretend. Okay. Now, honestly, okay. So you can tell people which parts you made you cry, right? Warn people how difficult it was to read, if you want. Okay. Now, or you might have to say you really had to finish the book. You just can't put it down. Okay. Okay. Its price is cheap, stocking stuff. Okay. So it's kind of like the pet rock. If you go online, you pretend like you're reading the book, and you're laughing and crying. Okay. Now there's one cookbook. So you can pretend, like you're following a recipe. You make something, and you can say you're following the recipe from the book. Okay. So I did make this slide. I said that the book should be available by October 25. It's actually October 25 now, so it'll be available by November. Okay. So it's just in time for your Christmas reading. Okay. So they're like the Emperor's New Clothes. Okay, except they're empty books. Okay, so I guess that's it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching me. I'm sorry if I went too long with this, but I feel it's important that everything is here. I hate to say this, but I highly suspect that governments are already in touch with invisible beings. So what we're doing here, it's nothing new. Okay. So what I'm also saying is, I don't think don't go too biblical on this. Okay. I'm not breaking any seal. Okay. Because I think it's already been known. Okay. So this is nothing. This is not some sort of a biblical Armageddon, apocalypse, whatever. Okay. It's just for us to discover that there are other people or other beings, and therefore anything that is with skin, doesn't matter what color skin we're in, we're very important people. Okay. We're human beings. It doesn't matter if a person is one color or another. It doesn't matter, because once again, I've seen invisible beings, and I haven't even told you. I should have mentioned that I saw a being of light in 2013. When I started become more religious for my dad to heal, and I'm talking, and I mentioned this in the book. I did see a being of light. So that's different from the shadow beings. Okay, so just letting you know that before I exit. So thanks so much, and I'll see you soon. And I'll be and I will hopefully start live streaming as soon as possible. Um, and join me, subscribe, and then ring the bell. Okay. So thank you so much. I'm gonna be exiting now. So click the subscribe button and then click the bell. I will live stream a few times a day. Watch me when it's convenient. Okay. There's gonna be a timer, but I don't think I will do that now. There'll be a timer, where I'll give you 15 minutes to go get your water.